Chapter 1303. Impossible. Many Dragonians were shocked. They couldn't believe their eyes. What kind of being could recover in a few breaths' time after being punched through the abdomen? This was simply unimaginable. But how could they know that Xiaoping was no ordinary human? He had condensed the Golden Crow physique. The legendary Golden Crow of Hell didn't have a real body, but was condensed from flames. It existed between reality and illusion, existing in the void. It was a ruler born from the depths of the flames, a true Xiantian life form. Even if its wings were chopped off, its body pierced, its head chopped off, and its claws chopped off, as long as the flames didn't extinguish, it would rapidly recover. This was the undying body of the Golden Crow of Hell. Although his Golden Crow physique hadn't reached the grand completion realm yet, it had already completed the initial phase of elemental transformation. He could turn his entire body into flames. In this way, even if his arms were chopped off or his abdomen pierced, as long as his magic power wasn't exhausted, he would recover in a few breaths' time. And because of the Golden Crow of Hell's heart, his body's recovery speed was tens of times, maybe even hundreds of times faster than ordinary people. This. Kaiser was dumbfounded. In order to deal a fatal blow to Xiaoping, he had endured for a long time and punched through Xiaoping's abdomen, thinking that it would end his life. But who would have thought that in a few breaths' time, the other party would recover without a scratch? This scene was too exaggerated. Could it be that he had an undying body? Since you've all appeared, then you can all die. Xiaoping's eyes flashed with a terrifying light that seemed capable of piercing through the void. The wings on his back flapped, and with extreme speed, he punched towards the nearby Dragonians. Martial Path Divine Ability, Sun God Fist. This fist was like the arrival of the sun, blazing with flames and exuding boundless yang qi. Under such a scorching sun, any power would be completely vaporized. Not good. The Dragonians who used the power of lightning paled. This fist was aimed at him and he could feel the threat of death. But he couldn't react in time. What happened earlier was too shocking, and his mind was still in a state of confusion, trying to figure out why this had happened. But no matter what, he was still an Emperor-level expert. In a hurry, he immediately circulated the magic power in his body, quickly covering his body with a layer of lightning energy armor. Lightning crackled around him and there were lightning runes swimming around. Dong. The punch landed squarely on the Dragon Grand Emperor's body. It's over. The Dragon Great Sovereign's face was ashen. He thought that his move would be able to block Xiaoping's attack, but Xiaoping's fist art simply surpassed his imagination. Only when this fist was about to hit him did he realize how terrifying this fist was. It contained boundless heat, as if the other party was holding a sun in his hand and smashing it over. Not only did it contain the power to shatter stars, but more importantly, the terrifying heat directly seeped into his lungs, instantly roasting his internal organs. Boom. In the next second, his body was blasted into pieces and even turned to ashes under the flames. A mighty Dragon Grand Emperor was beaten to death just like that. Emperor Kair. Everyone, including the great Emperor Caesar, was dumbfounded when they saw the Dragon Man Emperor being killed. If it was before, killing Grand Emperor Grant wouldn't be a big deal. After all, he was just one person. But now, 5 great sovereigns had come together and killed a great sovereign right under their noses. This was no longer as simple as slapping their faces, it was simply a humiliation to them to death, trampling them until there wasn't a single piece of skin left unscathed. Many Dragon Man elders died in grief and indignation. Another Dragon Grand Emperor had died. Today was simply the anniversary of the Dragon Man race's death. The losses they suffered were more terrible than any war in the past. I'll kill you. A Dragon Grand Emperor who controlled the power of wind roared towards the sky. He and Emperor Kair were like brothers, and seeing Kair explode with a single punch and disappear from the world, one could imagine how furious he was right now. His body contained the power of a storm. With his body as the center, countless air currents seemed to revolve, forming a storm. Violent air currents burst out, wanting to attack Xiaoping. Kill me? Are you qualified? Xiaoping didn't even look at him and immediately took out the Hell Spear. Martial Arts Mystique, Head-Piercing 7 Arrows Art. Using the Hell Spear as a hidden weapon, he imbued tyrannical magic power into it. Like a spear thrown by an ancient deity, he instantly threw the spear out. A tyrannical divine sense locked onto the Dragon Grand Emperor, seemingly leaving Xiaoping's spiritual mark on his body. With this spiritual mark, no matter how he tried to escape or dodge, he couldn't escape death. Swish. The Hell Spear flew out like a missile, surpassing 100 times the speed of sound and hiding in the void. A mysterious power wrapped around the hell spear. No matter how fast it was, nothing happened to the surrounding air. It was as if the surrounding air waves were easily smoothed out. With a tearing sound, the hell spear instantly pierced through the power of the storm and continuously revolved, tearing through the air barrier and directly penetrating into the Dragon Grand Emperor's body. Dong. Immediately his body was easily pierced through like a piece of paper. Blood gushed out just like that and he was nailed in midair like a sinner. This. Originally the Dragon Grand Emperor was still roaring and wanting to deal a fatal blow to Xia Ping, but in the next second the hell spear pierced through his chest. His eyes were wide open and astonishment and shock could be seen in the depths of his pupils. He couldn't believe that he was so easily killed by a human and had his heart destroyed. An intense pain spread throughout his body, and unprecedented darkness quickly shrouded his thoughts. Bang! Soon his body lost all strength and his soul fell into the endless darkness. Just like that he fell from midair and smashed into the ground. He fell to the ground and his legs twitched a few times as if unwilling to die just like that. But after a few seconds his body could no longer move. His neck tilted and he lost all signs of life. Even if the dragon god was here he probably wouldn't be able to revive him. Another great emperor died. You must be joking. Nightmare, this is definitely a nightmare. The Dragon Man elders were numb, and they didn't know what to say anymore. Just a moment ago they were filled with anger and hatred over the death of a great emperor, and now another one had died. Great emperors died like weeds without any value. Chapter 1304. This. The remaining 2 dragon-human emperors were filled with unimaginable fear. As emperor-level experts and the strongest experts of the Dragon God continent, they shouldn't be feeling such emotions. However, 2 great emperors had died in an instant, so they couldn't help but feel this way. In terms of strength, they were almost on par with the 2 dead great emperors. Therefore, if that human expert could easily kill Kaiser, he could naturally kill them as well. This wasn't a fantasy but an ironclad fact. Human. Emperor Caesar's expression was extremely gloomy. No one could imagine how angry he was at this moment. Large amounts of dark aura emanated from his body, seemingly distorting light and forming a black hole that devoured the surrounding energy. You ambushed me once, so I killed 2 of your great emperors. This is very fair. Xia Ping stood with his hands clasped behind his back, looking indifferently at Emperor Caesar and the other dragon human emperors. Fair my ass. Human, you're dead for sure. No one can save you. Emperor Caesar was completely enraged. With a whoosh, he instantly turned into a wisp of black smoke and disappeared on the spot. Darkness divine ability, shadow shift. In the blink of an eye, his entire body merged with the void, becoming invisible and blending into the darkness. It was as if even his aura had disappeared from this world. This was Emperor Caesar's unique martial divine ability. He could turn into darkness and hide in blind spots, concealing his aura so that no one could find him. Just now, he had used this divine ability to make everyone unable to find him, thus finding an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. If Xia Ping hadn't successfully condensed the golden crow body of hell, he would have been severely injured even if he didn't die from that punch. Once upon a time, Emperor Caesar was the king of assassins on the Dragon God continent. Those who were targeted by him would definitely die, and no one could escape from his assassination. With the tyrannical darkness divine ability of the dragon human race, his assassination had always been successful. Even if the other 5 dragon human emperors joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for him. Do you think I'll give you another chance? Xia Ping sneered. Just now, he had been ambushed by Emperor Caesar because he was caught off guard. Now that he was prepared, there was no way Emperor Caesar could hide from him. Golden Crow Eyes of Hell. Immediately, he opened his right eye and activated the Golden Crow Eyes of Hell. A spinning sun emitted a divine light that could see through the void. It swept across the area, revealing every corner. Found it? Almost in the time of a breath, he immediately saw a black shadow flying in the air, moving strangely and quickly towards his side. Dong. Xia Ping was not polite at all. He suddenly punched out, shaking and exploding. Scorching flames burst out, engulfing that area. Ah! Suddenly, the black shadow let out a shrill scream. It was obvious that he was burned by the scorching yang qi. His entire body was scorched black and he was even injured. In the next second, the black shadow revealed its original appearance. It was Julius Caesar. His entire body was in a sorry state and his body was charred black. He was shocked and angry, obviously not knowing how his whereabouts were so easily discovered by Xia Ping. You're known as the strongest emperor of the dragon men, yet you're only capable of this? You're just a coward who hides your head but shows your tail? Don't tell me you don't know any other moves besides sneak attacks? What a disappointment. Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Great Emperor Caesar indifferently. Bastard human, you've completely infuriated me. Hearing these words, Great Emperor Caesar was so angry that smoke was coming out of his nostrils. As the strongest emperor of the dragon men, he was the strongest even in the dragon god continent. Now, he was actually looked down upon by a human and thought of as a despicable person who only knew how to sneak attacks. How could he bear such contempt and humiliation? He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Dragonman's magical ability, dark space. Boom. Immediately, Great Emperor Caesar waved his hand, and a dark formation immediately appeared in the sky. It outlined a dense line, and suddenly, a huge black hole was formed, as if it was connected to the endless world of darkness. A large amount of dark energy surged out from this formation. In the time of a few breaths, this massive energy had spread to a radius of 100 miles, shrouding the entire area. The speed at which it spread was so fast that even Xia Ping could not avoid it. A cold light flashed in Xia Ping's eyes. He immediately felt that his body had fallen into a dark space. His surroundings were in a state of nothingness. He could see nothing, hear nothing, and could not even feel anything. This was a state of nothingness, as if he was already a dead person. Haha, this is my unique magical ability, dark space. In this space you can't see, hear, speak, or know anything. You are just like a dead person. Let me ask you, how can you resist me? Emperor Julius Caesar laughed heartily. He was extremely arrogant and proud of himself, as if he had finally vented his anger. However, after a while, Xia Ping's voice still didn't return. He patted his head as if he had thought of something. All right, I almost forgot. In this dark space you can't hear anything and you can't reply. No wonder you didn't reply. In the distance, when Great Emperor Caesar activated the dark space, the other two dragon human emperors also managed to escape in time because they were very familiar with Great Emperor Caesar's magical ability. What a terrifying darkness magical ability. Every time I see it, I shudder. Isn't that so? He can't see, hear, speak, or see anything. What else can he do? He's no different from a vegetable. That's right. Great Emperor Caesar can move freely. It can be said that he is an invincible existence in this dark space. No one can defeat him. It's not a joke that Great Emperor Caesar can fight 1 against 10. It's a fact. This human is finally going to die. He can be considered quite amazing to have provoked Great Emperor Caesar to use his natural magical ability. However, it's better for a monster like him to die quickly. Otherwise, our Dragon Man race will definitely not be a match for him. The two dragon human emperors heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing Xia Ping fall into the dark space, they felt much more at ease. It was impossible for him to escape after falling into the dark space. When the dark space disappeared, it would be the time of Xia Ping's death. At this time, a cold light flashed in Great Emperor Caesar's eyes. He turned into a wisp of black smoke and merged with the dark space. With a sharp black dagger in his hand, he silently approached Xia Ping, wanting to give him a fatal blow. Although he was full of confidence, it was better to get rid of this human monster as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he were to fail miserably at such an easy task, it would be very funny. Interesting. Chapter 1305. Dark Space? What a powerful mystique! Xia Ping exclaimed. He realized that even with the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell bloodline mystique, he could barely see a silhouette in the darkness. One could imagine how others would fare. In this dark space, ordinary people would be completely blind and at the mercy of others. Moreover, if Emperor Caesar was a little stronger, his Golden Crow's Eye of Hell would be useless. It would be as if he had sunk into darkness and couldn't see anything. Of course, if the Golden Crow's Eye of Hell continued to evolve, the dark space wouldn't be able to withstand its power. This was a power that restrained each other. Just like water and fire, the stronger one would be able to suppress the other. Murderous intent. Xia Ping squinted his eyes. In the depths of his pupils, he immediately saw a black shadow silently attacking him with a dagger. It seemed to want to get close to him and stab his heart. For Emperor Caesar, who had mastered the power of darkness, this dark space was like a fish in water. It was like his own home, so he could move freely. Swoosh. At this moment, Emperor Caesar made his move. With the dagger in his hand, he immediately stabbed forward. This stab was like an antelope hanging its horn. It was untraceable and extremely ruthless. His face revealed a ferocious expression. It was as if he could see the look of despair on this damn human's face when he stabbed him to death. However, he was soon shocked. What? This was because Emperor Caesar realized that Xiaoping suddenly waved his fist. It was like a missile, accurately smashing towards his left eye with more than 10,000 tons of force. With a bang, he felt his face being smashed into a deformed shape. His entire body was sent flying. Even a few teeth flew out and he spat out blood. Impossible. Could it be that he can see my whereabouts in this dark space? Emperor Caesar was a little dumbfounded by this punch. This was unprecedented. He had never experienced the feeling of being hit in the dark space. This was the first time something like this had happened. Coincidence? It's definitely a coincidence. He must have unintentionally waved his fist and hit me. Damn human, what a lucky brat. Emperor Caesar gritted his teeth. He firmly believed that this was just a lucky punch from Xiaoping. It was impossible for him to see his whereabouts in this dark space. Swoosh. He once again turned into a wisp of black smoke and quietly hid. This time he planned to circle behind Xiaoping. He believed that even if this brat waved his fists everywhere, he would not be able to hit him. Die, human. Great Emperor Caesar cackled. He wanted to stab this bastard to death with his dagger. Dong. However, it was as if Xiaoping had eyes on the back of his head. He suddenly turned around and fiercely punched the great Emperor Caesar again. This time he smashed the great Emperor Caesar's right eye, causing a pair of panda eyes. With a blood-curdling scream, the great Emperor Caesar was sent flying. Fresh blood spurted out and intense pain spread throughout his body. Damn it, did he grow eyes in the back of his head? Emperor Caesar's face turned green. He couldn't understand how this bastard could hit him so accurately every time. It was as if he could really see his face. Wait, he saw me? Could this guy really see him? Otherwise, how could he explain what had just happened? At this time, Emperor Caesar finally understood why he was repeatedly hit by Xiaoping. This kid could definitely see his tracks. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to hit him twice. Brat, you actually dared to trick me. I definitely won't forgive you. Spatial suppression. Emperor Caesar was infuriated. He formed a seal with both hands and immediately controlled the dark space. Endless dark energy surged and collapsed towards the center of the space. Ha! Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He felt his body being crushed from all directions. It was as if every corner of his body was enduring a terrifying pressure. It was as if he was going to be crushed into a piece of white paper. In this dark space, there was nowhere for him to escape. He could only forcefully endure this oppressive force. Obviously, Emperor Caesar had realized that he couldn't assassinate Xiaoping in the dark space. Hence, he decided to use absolute strength to crush Xiaoping into meat paste. Break for me. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. After staying in this dark space for such a long time, he also understood some of the characteristics of this dark space. It was purely a space of nothingness formed by dark energy. He was most proficient in this kind of space formed by dark energy. Martial Path Mystique, Sun God Fist. In an instant, the power of 5 extraordinary fires surged out of his body. The essence of the sun, the fire of drought, the spiritual fire of the earth, the fire of life, and the dragon fire. 5 clusters of flames burned in this dark space. These extraordinary fires surged out and burned the space. In particular, the flames of the essence of the sun surged out. This was a terrifying flame that could burn all impurities. Any negative dark energy would turn into nothingness in front of the essence of the sun. Crackle, crackle, in an instant the entire dark space collapsed. Terrifying large holes were burned in it. Endless dark energy melted like snow. It was rapidly burned by the essence of the sun, turning into wisps of black aura that disappeared in this space. Oh no! Emperor Caesar's expression changed drastically. He felt that the power of these extraordinary fires seemed to have penetrated the space and surged towards his body. They were going to burn his entire body into ashes. Outside the dark space, many draconian kings were chatting. 5 minutes had passed since the dark space was cast. 4 great emperor-level experts, they had lost count of how many times they had fought during this period. How long do you think it will take for Emperor Caesar to kill that human Xiaoping? At most 3 minutes. After 3 minutes he will definitely die. Yeah, he's already a monster if he can resist for 5 minutes. Ordinary great emperor-level experts can only last for 1 minute in this dark space. Soon we will see this human's corpse on the ground. Humph, when this brat dies, I will definitely hang his corpse on the city gate and let it be exposed to the sun for 3 days and 3 nights as a warning to others. Many draconian kings laughed coldly. They had already thought of how they would use the corpse of this human great emperor to vent their anger after Xiaoping's death. Boom! At this moment the entire dark space shattered like glass, turning into countless fragments. Immediately the scene in this space was revealed. With a sound, Emperor Caesar could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was sent flying and smashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. Soil flew everywhere. At this moment his breathing was very weak and his face was ashen. Clearly he had been severely injured. Xiaoping stood in midair looking down from above. He was unharmed, and his body was wrapped in flames like a god of fire. Impossible. Chapter 1306. It's over, we're doomed. Even Emperor Julius Caesar can't stop this human. Who else can stop him? Is our dragon god city going to be destroyed by this despicable human today? Many dragon people were in despair when they saw that Emperor Julius Caesar had been beaten to the ground. They felt that their invincible image in the depths of their hearts had collapsed, and their greatest support was gone. If even the strongest great emperor of the dragon human race couldn't stop Xiaoping, then they were truly doomed. The two dragon people great emperor's expressions were also extremely ugly. Even the dark space couldn't kill this human. Just how powerful was he? Why did such a monster appear in the dragon god continent? They clenched their fists tightly and were already prepared to flee. If even Emperor Julius Caesar was killed, then no one in the dragon human race would be able to stop him. If they foolishly tried to stop Xiaoping, perhaps all the great emperors of the dragon human race would die. That would be the end of the dragon human race. No matter what, as great emperors of the dragon human race, they shouldered the future of the dragon human race and couldn't die so easily. Despicable human, you forced me to do this. With a whoosh, Emperor Julius Caesar crawled up from the ground. His eyes were extremely fierce as he glared at Xiaoping, and a terrifying murderous aura emanated from his body. He felt an unprecedented pain in his body. Such a defeat was simply a humiliation that he had never experienced in his life. This made him feel even more humiliated. Immediately, he made a grabbing motion and took out a red horn from his body. There were many strange patterns on the surface of this horn, and countless ancient inscriptions were engraved on it. It seemed to contain the might of a dragon, and a terrifying destructive power resided within it. What is this? Xiaoping had originally wanted to end Emperor Julius Caesar's life, but his pupils contracted when he saw this red horn appear. The golden crow of hell cells in his body gave him a strong warning, as if this weapon would bring him fatal danger. He could feel that this horn was not simple and was made of extraordinary materials. Be careful, this horn is a spiritual weapon, and it's at least a superior grade spiritual weapon. At this moment, Corinne's voice sounded. Its materials are not simple. If I'm not wrong, it's made from a dragon horn. What? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Dragon horns were one of the toughest parts of a dragon's body. They were indestructible, and there was actually a magic treasure that was refined using dragon horns. One could imagine how powerful this magic treasure was. The power it possessed was probably beyond imagination. Dragon God Horn. Seeing the great Emperor Caesar take out this weapon, the surrounding dragon men, including the two dragon human emperors, were shocked, their eyes filled with fear. Clearly they recognized the true face of this weapon. This was the ultimate weapon of the dragon human race, a powerful magic treasure left behind by the dragon god. Once the dragon god bugle horn was blown, it could unleash the power to destroy heaven and earth. Once upon a time, the emperor of the dragon human race had used the horn of the dragon god and destroyed everything within a radius of 100,000 kilometers. Everything within sight was destroyed. This was a doomsday-level weapon, so it was also called the Horn of Doomsday. This weapon was the ultimate weapon of the dragon human race, and they would not use it unless it was time for the extinction of their race. Of course, that was not the only reason why they were unwilling to use this weapon. After all, this was a powerful magic treasure left behind by the dragon god. It was not something that ordinary dragon men could use. At the very least, one had to be a great emperor to be qualified to use it. In addition, once the dragon god bugle horn was activated, the magic power in one's body would swarm in and be completely devoured. If the magic power in one's body was insufficient, it would even devour the vitality of the great emperors. Previously, a great emperor had used this dragon god bugle horn, but after using it, his vitality was completely exhausted. His entire body turned into ashes and no longer existed. Therefore, not many great emperors were willing to use this weapon to perish together with their opponents. Moreover, in the dragon god continent, There was no race that could force the dragon-human emperors to use this magic treasure. Unexpectedly, one had appeared and forced Emperor Caesar to take out the dragon god bugle horn. Go to hell. Emperor Caesar roared angrily and immediately activated the dragon god bugle horn. Roar! Suddenly the dragon god bugle horn emitted a red light, and a huge formation appeared in mid-air. Next, a real dragon appeared from the formation. Its huge body covered the sky, emitting a terrifying dragon's might. The moment it appeared, it immediately roared into the sky. It was as if a real dragon was roaring angrily. Terrifying sound waves spread across a radius of 10,000 miles. The sound waves were extremely terrifying. Layer after layer, the air vibrated billions of times. Any matter in front of such sound waves would be turned into nothingness, completely shaken into atoms. What a terrifying power! Xia Ping's eyes narrowed. This power had already surpassed the treasure refinement realm, and was even stronger than the true fire realm. A planet might not even be able to withstand the roar of a real dragon like this, instantly shattering into pieces. Activating such a powerful magic treasure required an astronomical amount of magic power. At that moment, Emperor Caesar's face had already turned red, and a huge amount of his magic power was also being channeled into the dragon god bugle horn. But for the dragon god bugle horn, it seemed to be a drop in the bucket. It was completely insufficient. However, this had nothing to do with Xia Ping because the dragon god bugle horn's attack was aimed at him. If he couldn't withstand it, he would immediately be shaken into dust and cease to exist. No, I can't take it head-on. Otherwise I'll definitely die. Xia Ping's eyes flashed. The power of the dragon god bugle horn was too great. Even Dark North's protective technique couldn't withstand it. If he dared to take it head-on, he would definitely die. Right, the pearl of mountain and river. At that moment, Xia Ping had a flash of inspiration and remembered the pearl of mountain and river. If it was an ordinary spatial magic treasure, it couldn't withstand the power of the dragon god bugle horn at all. It might be directly shaken into pieces and the spatial magic treasure would crack. However, the pearl of mountain and river was once a sacred weapon. Its material was indestructible. Even if it was thrown into the depths of the sun and burned for 10,000 years, it would still be unscathed. Even if it had lost most of the power of the sacred weapon, its defense was still amazing. Whoosh. Thinking of this, Xia Ping's figure flashed and immediately entered the internal space of the pearl of mountain and river. In the blink of an eye, the attack of the dragon god bugle horn arrived in an instant. The terrifying sound wave spread, and along the way mountains were shaken into pieces. There was no explosion, no roar, and the entire world could only hear the loud roar of the true dragon. In this way, the mountains, rivers, valleys, plants and so on within a radius of 100,000 miles were turned into nothingness. Everything was razed to the ground, as if it was flattened by the hands of the gods. It turned into 100,000 miles of flat land, and not even a blade of grass grew. Oh my god! Is this the ultimate weapon of the dragon human race, the dragon god bugle horn? Chapter 1307. Even though the dragon people had heard many legends about the dragon god horn, they had never seen it used and had no clear idea of what it was like. But now they finally understood how terrifying this weapon was. It was indeed a weapon left behind by the dragon god, the ultimate weapon of the dragon human race. Now that it had unleashed its full power, it had reached a terrifying level. An area of 100,000 kilometers had been flattened just like that. It was neither destruction nor explosion, but flattening and destroying everything so cleanly that no living creature would be left behind. They shuddered at the thought of it. If such a weapon were to fall into the hands of the enemy and attack the city of the dragon human race, no matter how many elite dragon people there were, they would all be turned into ashes. This was simply the power of heaven and could not be resisted. But in this way, Xia Ping of the human race was finally dead. This scourge of the dragon human race was ultimately destroyed by the weapon of the dragon human race. It's over, it's finally over. I didn't think that it would take so much effort to kill a human. Isn't that so? That human is too abnormal. In order to kill him, we actually sacrificed 2 dragon human emperors and even used such a powerful weapon like the dragon god horn, almost forcing our dragon human race into a desperate situation. What a pity! In order to use the dragon god horn, Lord Caesar also seems to have died. Many dragon human elders looked relieved and happy, but also sorrowful. All kinds of emotions were tumbling in their hearts, and it was simply a complex feeling. They felt joy at killing the dragon human emperor, but also sorrow at the heavy losses of the dragon human race. They did not know whether to celebrate or mourn after this victory. Wait, Emperor Caesar doesn't seem to be dead, he's still alive. Suddenly, a dragon-human elder cried out in surprise and pointed to an empty space outside the city. What? All the Dragonians looked over and saw that Emperor Caesar was still standing on the spot, alive and well. However, he was in a very bad situation. Both of his hands were holding onto the dragon god horn, and every inch of his skin had cracked open. Blood was dripping from his wounds, turning him into a bloody man. If that was all, it would not have been so bad. His muscles had also withered and his hair had turned white. He seemed to have aged a few hundred years in an instant, becoming an old man on the verge of death. He looked completely different from the previous emperor. But no matter what, he still survived after using the dragon god horn. Success. Emperor Caesar clenched his fists and immediately relaxed. He had studied the dragon god horn for thousands of years after obtaining it and had finally figured out some tricks to use it. It was true that the horn of the dragon god was extremely powerful, but it required all of the monarch's energy and life force. It was a weapon of mass destruction. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no dragon great emperor was willing to use it. However, through great Emperor Caesar's research, he discovered that he could control the power of the dragon god horn. For example, if he reduced the power of the dragon god horn, perhaps he would need less magic power to use it. The result was just as he had expected. He managed to reduce the power of the dragon god horn by more than half, which allowed him to survive. He was not sucked dry by the dragon god horn and eventually killed the great enemy of the dragon human race, Xia Ping. The human race is really too dangerous. To think that such a monster would appear. I originally thought that this race was only a weak race and not worth mentioning, but now it seems that we need to eliminate them as soon as possible. Otherwise, if another monster like this appears, the dragon human race won't be able to withstand it. A cold light flashed in great Emperor Caesar's eyes. Because of Xia Ping's appearance, his vigilance towards the human race had reached an unprecedented level. He was no longer as indifferent and aloof as before. Although the probability of another monster like this appearing in the human race wasn't very high, it didn't mean that it was impossible. If he appeared again, then the dragon human race would be completely finished. No matter how many dragon great emperors died, it wouldn't be enough. He made up his mind that after he recovered from his injuries, he would immediately take out the dragon god horn and destroy the giant cities of the human race one by one. He would kill every single one of them and leave nothing behind. Such a great enemy definitely couldn't be left on the dragon god continent. He absolutely couldn't give them any chance to grow, or the dragon human race might very well be finished. This was a war between races and there was no room for mercy. Suddenly, just as great Emperor Caesar was about to take action and return to Dragon God City with the dragon god horn, a figure instantly appeared beside him and a terrifying force attacked him. It's over. Great Emperor Caesar was in utter despair. He had just used the dragon god horn and his body was in an unprecedentedly weak state. He was even weaker than an ordinary dragon human, so there was no way he could withstand this attack. He roared madly in his heart. Who was it? Who was it? Which son of a bitch wanted to take advantage of his perilous situation and take his life? Could it be a certain dragon human elder who had hated him for a long time? Or could it be those two dragon human great emperors who wanted to dominate the dragon human race and felt that he was a hindrance, so they wanted to kill him? Great Emperor Caesar was filled with grief and indignation. He hadn't died in the hands of a human, but today he was going to die in the hands of an internal conflict between his own people. This was the greatest irony and ridiculous. Boom. In the next second, a fist pierced through his chest, and his heart exploded like a watermelon. Blood gushed out. However, because of the powerful vitality of a great emperor, he didn't die even though his heart had been destroyed. What? You're not a dragon human, you're a human. You're Xia Ping. How is this possible? Why aren't you dead yet? Great Emperor Caesar's eyes were ferocious. He wanted to see who had killed him. He didn't want to die with everlasting regret. However, when he saw who had pierced through his chest, he was shocked and his pupils constricted. This was because the person who had killed him was actually that monstrous human, Xia Ping. Not only was Xia Ping not dead, but he had also killed him with a single punch. You ambushed me just now and now I've ambushed you. We're even. Xia Ping retracted his fist and looked at Julius Caesar calmly. He hid in the pearl of mountains and rivers and evaded the attack of the dragon god horn. He concealed himself on the ground and waited for an opportunity to come out to deal a fatal blow to great Emperor Caesar and send him on his way. This could be considered an eye for an eye. Fuck you. Great Emperor Caesar was filled with grief and indignation. Xia Ping had an immortal body and could recover on his own even if he was destroyed, but he was just an ordinary dragon human. After being destroyed he would really die. How could this be considered even? Why couldn't he kill this bastard human with a single punch? But he was killed with a single punch. Life was too unfair. I can't accept this, I can't accept this. With a bang his body fell to the ground just like that. Blood flowed all over the ground, and his eyes were wide open. Deep in his pupils, there were expressions of unwillingness, regret, grief, and anger. Clearly he was very unwilling to be killed by Xia Ping just like that. Chapter 1309. This is the Dragon God Forbidden Ground? Soon, Xia Ping arrived at the deepest part of Dragon God City, where there was an endless mountain range that was incomparably majestic. However, this mountain range was extremely terrifying. With his golden crow-hell eyes, he discovered that densely packed formation marks had appeared in the void. Each and every one of them was a powerful restrictive formation that emanated a terrifying aura. It seemed that if he dared to barge in, he would immediately be smashed to pieces by the restrictive power. Not to mention a divine realm cultivator, even a golden core expert would not be able to last long under this restrictive formation. Corinne, is there any way to pass through this restrictive formation? Xia Ping asked. If he could not pass through the restrictive formation of the Dragon God Forbidden Ground, then he would not be able to bring Chu Rong and the others out. With a whizzing sound, Corinne jumped out and stared at the restrictive array formation in front of him, and immediately sucked in a mouthful of cold air. What a frightening restrictive array formation. Could it be that it was arranged by a dragon saint? Even though he was experienced and knowledgeable, he was shocked by the restrictive formation in this area. According to his many years of experience, if he activated the restrictive formation with all his strength, he could even kill a saint. A saint? Xia Ping raised his brows. It seemed that the true dragon who built this true dragon nest had extraordinary strength. It was likely a dragon saint. After all, if he was not a saint, he would not be able to set up such a terrifying restrictive formation. According to Corinne's introduction, this area was not that simple. There were countless forbidden runes engraved in the void, and it also communicated with the power of countless dimensions. If it was forcefully destroyed, it would cause a chain reaction in the restrictive formation. Countless formations would overlap and immediately detonate the void. The power of such an explosion was equivalent to dozens of suns exploding. It could directly blast a black hole in the space, and everything within a million light years would be razed to the ground, turning everything into nothingness. So powerful. Does that mean that this restrictive formation cannot be broken? Xia Ping frowned. That's not it. Corinne shook his head. If there is a dragon saint guarding this place, then it is naturally a dragon's lair and tiger's den that cannot be barged in. Going in means death. Even a saint would not dare to enter. However, it has been a long time since a sage of the dragon clan has visited this place. After countless years of erosion, many flaws have appeared in this restrictive formation. Therefore, as long as we carefully pass through these flaws in the formation, we will be able to reach the deepest part of this area. It was full of confidence. At this point it changed the topic. But even if there are flaws, it's not something that ordinary people can pass through. One must borrow the power of the stars in order to pass through. Otherwise, I will definitely be reduced to ashes by this restrictive power. Its expression was very serious. They had to borrow the power of the multi-star. Xia Ping's eyes flashed. Even though he knew that this forbidden area was extremely dangerous, he didn't expect it to be this dangerous. If he didn't come to this place, Chu Rong and the others wouldn't know how long it would take for them to come out. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to come out in this lifetime and could only be trapped inside. At the thought of this, he immediately took out the stars and entered the spaceship. Whoosh. Under Corinne's control, the myriad stars immediately entered the Dragon God Forbidden Land without hesitation. The other Dragonians were overjoyed. They didn't expect this human to be so stupid as to really dare to enter the Dragon God Forbidden Land. One must know that they had explored the Dragon God Forbidden Land countless times. Over the tens of thousands of years, there were countless deaths and injuries, but none of them could enter the Dragon God Forbidden Land. This place was classified as an absolute forbidden area where even an emperor-level powerhouse would die if they entered. However, since this human had entered the Dragon God Forbidden Land, it meant that this human was dead for sure. There was no way he could come out alive. This is the Dragon God Forbidden Land. Xia Ping sat in the stars and saw the situation outside through the virtual projection. As soon as he entered the forbidden area, he was immediately attacked by lightning. Countless purple lightning bolts descended from the void, and it was more terrifying than the heavenly tribulation he had experienced. Each lightning bolt was as thick as a bucket and was extremely powerful. It seemed like one of them could tear the stars apart. This is the purple sky lightning, a terrifying lightning bolt from the depths of the universe. Even a lightning retribution almighty would die if they were hit by it. Corinne introduced. However, even though the lightning bolts were extremely powerful, they were like mosquito bites when they struck the surface of the spaceship. There was no effect at all. Xiaoping only heard a tinkling sound. These lightning bolts had no way to break through the defenses of the stars. Swoosh. The stars quickly passed through this area and arrived at another area. This place was instantly drowned in endless water as if it had turned into an ocean world. The water was azure blue and looked extremely beautiful. It didn't seem to be dangerous. However, Corinne exclaimed, "Oh my God, this is the 10,000 layers soft water. It's strange water from a certain universe's mystic realm. It's extremely heavy and can't even float on a goose feather. Once a living being falls into it, they'll definitely drown and won't be able to climb out. Where did the dragon sage here get so much 10,000 layers soft water from?" I was extremely amazed. Even the star sect master back then wasn't so rich to get so much 10,000 layers soft water. "Can I plunder some?" Xiaoping stroked his chin, feeling that this was a treasure. "Don't even think about it. Once the cabin is opened, the 10,000 layers soft water will immediately surge in. By then it'll be impossible to expel it. Both you and I will drown." Corinne snapped. "It's one of the strange water that's as famous as the legendary Yellow Springs water. Even souls can drown. Even sages are extremely fearful of it." Upon hearing this, Xiaoping could only give up. After all, no matter how good the treasure was, it wasn't as important as his life. Swoosh. The stars quickly passed through this area and arrived at another area. Immediately, countless sabers and swords seemed to appear in this area, condensing into a metallic aura and turning into a mountain of sabers and a sea of swords. As soon as the stars approached, it was immediately bombarded by 10,000 swords. It was as if it was being attacked by hundreds of thousands of sword Dao masters. Clanging sounds rang out, wanting to destroy the stars. Fortunately, the stars was extremely tough. Even the attacks of sages would find it difficult to destroy it. Otherwise, it would definitely be penetrated by these metallic auras. Such rich golden gungqi. This is simply a metal world. Corinne exclaimed again and again. He increasingly felt that the dragon sage who built this true dragon nest was extremely terrifying. He reckoned that such a realm had surpassed his old master back then and had at least reached the realm of an invincible sage. Fortunately, there were no traces of the dragon sage in this place. Otherwise, they would have been blasted to smithereens the moment they entered. We're finally here. Chapter 13:10. In the depths of the draconic god-forbidden ground in a palace. How boring. I'm already sick of eating 1,000-year-old ginseng. Is there nothing else to eat? Chu Rong lazily laid on the ground. Her pair of fair and tender legs were swinging subconsciously. She was chewing on 1,000-year-old ginseng as if she was nibbling on a carrot, not cherishing it at all. After a year of training and advancing to the Purple Mansion realm, her body had undergone a complete transformation. Her long legs were astonishingly long, and her waist was slender and slender. Especially her skin, which was smooth and delicate without any scars. It was as if she was a newborn baby. How can there be anything to eat in this godforsaken place? It's all vegetables and fruits. There isn't even a piece of meat. Yuchichi said in a bad mood. She was also lying on a wooden bed without a care for her image. Her clothes were torn apart, revealing her impressive figure. This figure seemed to have become more and more voluptuous, to the point that it was a little excessive. Perhaps even an international model could not compare to this. It made one's blood boil. If it was during normal times, she would definitely not do such an undignified behavior. But surrounded by women, she did not care about her image and did not have the airs of a mermaid princess. With a smack, she immediately grabbed a scarlet spirit fruit from the basket and ate it fiercely. Instantly, an enchanting fragrance pervaded the air. If others were to see Yuchichi eating like this, their eyes would definitely turn green. Because this scarlet spirit fruit was the famous dragon blood fruit. Consuming one would save at least 10 years of cultivation, and it could even temper the physique and raise the aptitude. Its value was astonishing. But now it was actually eaten by Yuchichi like an apple. It was truly a waste. But in the draconic god-forbidden ground, such a spirit fruit was just an ordinary spirit fruit, not worth mentioning. I really miss the purple potato pudding, strawberry cake, chocolate chips, and other snacks. Now that there's nothing left, how can I get out of this godforsaken place? The one who spoke was Suji. Her voice was extremely charming and seemed to contain a mysterious power. Any male animal that heard this voice could not help but have a reaction. After bathing in dragon blood and consuming a large amount of spirit herbs, she broke through to the Purple Mansion realm, completely activating the bloodline in her body. Her aptitude was also raised to an unprecedented level. This caused her physique to undergo an earth-shattering change. It was as if she had evolved into a great and charming beauty. She was a little like a fox spirit that had attained immortality. She was astonishingly charming. However, she was surrounded by beauties of the same level as her, so none of them were attracted to her. They had long since gotten used to it. However, it was precisely this kind of great beauty that when she thought about the food she ate in the past, she immediately began to drool. She did not care about her image at all, because she had not been able to leave this place for an entire year. She had been eating all kinds of spiritual medicines and fruits in this forbidden area. Although these spirit medicines and spirit fruits were very precious, if one ate too many of them, one would eventually get sick of them. She was dying to eat something else. Based on the current situation, unless we break through to a higher level and break through the restrictive arrays here, we'll be trapped here for the rest of our lives. Jianghu walked in from the entrance of the hall. She had just finished cultivating. At this moment, her body was emitting a pure and holy light, as if she was the holy maiden of an ancient sect. After a year of tempering, her temperament had also become extraordinary, reaching a transcendent realm. She was like a fairy that had transcended the mortal world, and was extremely enchanting. It was just that she was wearing very few clothes now and they were all tattered. If any man were to see this scene, they would probably have a nosebleed. The reason for this situation wasn't because she was an exhibitionist. It was just that they had unintentionally fallen into the true dragon nest, and they did not have anything on them, including their clothes. One could imagine that after a year they were only wearing a single piece of clothing. Apart from that, they had nothing else. As a result, their clothes became tattered after a year of wearing them. If not for the fact that they were extremely careful and cherished their clothes, they would probably be like primitive people right now, using lotus leaves to wrap their bodies. Damn it. I've clearly broken through to the Purple Palace realm and become a king, but I was planning to appear in front of that bastard Xiaoping and enjoy the worship of tens of thousands of people at the same time. Yuchichi gritted her teeth in anger. I didn't expect to be trapped in this godforsaken place. No matter how hard I try, I can't get out. Is this the so-called heaven is jealous of geniuses? As the saying went, not returning to one's hometown after becoming rich was like wearing silk clothes at night. Since she was already a king, why didn't she go back to the cloud world to show off and intimidate the small fry? How could she be worthy of her hard work and cultivation? Of course, she also wanted to scare that cocky human Xiaoping. Who asked him to be so cocky in front of her all day long, boasting that he was some kind of rare genius? Now that she, Yuchichi, had also broken through to the Purple Palace realm and became a king, her strength had increased greatly. She had also caught up to this human's footsteps and was not inferior to him at all. Although a year had passed, and that human had more or less improved, the improvement was probably limited. He was definitely still lingering at the Purple Palace realm and was unable to advance to a higher realm. In fact, there were demon kings that were stuck at the Purple Palace realm for hundreds of years, and it wasn't strange at all. Sigh, it's impossible to get out. Chu Rong sighed. Unless some unknown upheaval happened in this forbidden ground, we can only obediently stay in this place. In fact, during this year they had been constantly searching for ways to get out, but they couldn't find a way to leave this place no matter how hard they tried. As time passed, they also gave up. Indeed, this forbidden ground is too mysterious. It is the place where the true dragon resides. With our strength, it's impossible to break the restriction here. We are simply too insignificant. Suji sighed. From this place, it could be seen that there were restriction formations everywhere, and the power contained within them was enough to easily turn a king into ashes. This was the work of a true almighty existence. An existence like this was simply unfathomable to them. Wait, do you guys hear something? All of a sudden, Jianghu looked outside with a solemn expression on her face. Indeed, there is a sound. It seems like a rumbling sound. Could it be that something triggered the restriction formation? No, maybe someone broke into this place. Are you joking? Don't you know how terrifying the restriction formation is? How could someone break in? Nothing is impossible. Since that almighty existence set up this restriction formation, it might be to prevent such a strong enemy from invading. It means that someone can break it. If someone broke in, it might be our chance to leave this place. It's better to be careful. We don't know if that person is a friend or foe. If it's an enemy, we're dead for sure. No matter what, it's better to go and take a look. Otherwise, we won't be able to leave this place and will die of old age. Chapter 13:11. Boom! When Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi, and Suji arrived outside the palace, they immediately saw an astonishing scene. A huge flying ship flew out from the depths of the restrictive array formation. The restrictive array formation immediately erupted with terrifying power. It was either the bombardment of lightning, the burning of raging flames, or the impact of a flood. The power was boundless, even more terrifying than a nuclear bomb. However, to the flying ship, these powers were simply like mosquito bites. The flying ship didn't receive any damage and it barged in unscathed. Boom. In the next second, the flying ship passed through the restrictive array formation and directly arrived at a vast open space outside the palace. Its entire body emitted a divine aura, making it unfathomable. What kind of flying ship is this? Could it be an alien flying ship? Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi, and Suji all blinked their eyes, curiously looking at the flying ship. They could be considered to have seen many flying ships in the human world, but they had never seen a flying ship with such astonishing defensive power. To be able to withstand such a terrifying attack and still not receive any damage, it could be imagined that the defensive power of this flying ship was absolutely not something a human ship could compare to. Although they didn't have any proof, they all thought so in their hearts. I hope it's a friend and not an enemy. If it's an enemy, perhaps we should prepare early. Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi, and Suji looked at each other. It wasn't that they didn't do anything in the past year in this forbidden area. They had already explored 70 to 80% of this place, and knew of many restrictive array formations in this place. If the other party was an enemy, they would immediately activate the restrictive array formations, making the other party unable to bear the consequences. At most, they would perish together. The cabin door opened, and a figure flew down from above, landing on the ground just like that. Xia Ping. Seeing this familiar figure, Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi, and Suji all exclaimed at the same time. Clearly, they recognized this man's true identity. However, they couldn't help but rub their eyes, not daring to believe it. After all, the probability of Xia Ping coming to this forbidden area was extremely low. It was like a pie falling from the sky. I didn't expect to be so welcomed. Nice clothes. Xia Ping rubbed his chin as he sized up Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi, and Suji and clicked his tongue in admiration. He felt that after not seeing them for a year, the four women seemed to have undergone a huge change. Chu Rong's legs seemed to have grown longer, Yuchichi's figure seemed to have become even hotter, Suji seemed to have become incomparably charming, and Jianghu had also become extremely pure and lovely, causing one to drool over them. He had to admit that they all exuded boundless charm. Rogue. Zailang. Bastard. Beast. Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi, and Suji's faces instantly turned red. They couldn't help but spit at Xia Ping. They had also noticed their own indiscretions. All of them were at a loss of what to do, and they covered their bodies with their hands. But no matter how they tried, they were unable to cover everything, and this caused them to feel even more ashamed and annoyed. Because they didn't expect to meet a man at this time and place. What's there to be shy about? It's not like I've never seen it before. Xia Ping said carelessly. Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi, and Suji's faces turned even redder, wishing that they could bite this rogue to death. When they thought about it carefully, they realized that their bodies had more or less been seen by this rogue. Chu Rong recalled the first time she met Xia Ping. It was during the competition in the dojo. At that time, she had been hugged by this man while naked, and was even taken away by him in front of everyone. Suji gritted her teeth. Back in the Evil Corpse Mountain range, this rogue had peeped at her and seen her body from top to bottom, as well as a bunch of beautiful sisters. Yuchichi's face turned red. Clearly, she remembered that time in the Shark Demon King's palace. This bastard had shamelessly barged into the hot spring like a bandit while she was bathing. Jianghu was so embarrassed that smoke was coming out of her head. She and Xia Ping were childhood sweethearts, and had a very good relationship when they were young. They had even bathed together before, and the two of them were innocent. Although these were all childhood matters, when it came to haggling over it, his words weren't wrong either. Cut the crap, big rogue. Do you have any clothes on you? Hurry up and hand them over. Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi, and Suji all fiercely glared at Xia Ping. I don't. Why would I have something like that on me? Xia Ping rolled his eyes. He wanted to continue enjoying the scenery, so how could he stupidly take out his clothes? Liar. Hand over your clothes. How could Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi and Su Ji believe Xia Ping's words? This rogue was definitely doing it on purpose. His goal was to see them make a fool out of themselves. As soon as they finished speaking, they immediately made their move, wanting to capture Xia Ping. Making a move against me? Looks like not only have you gotten more ambitious, you've also gotten more daring. Xia Ping said with a beaming smile. Rogue. Let's see if you can still be so cocky after we capture you. That's right. We didn't waste this year either. Yes, you're no longer our match. Just give up. Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi and Su Ji were brimming with confidence. After advancing to the Purple Palace realm, they believed that no matter how monstrous Xia Ping was, he wouldn't be able to stop the four of them. Their figures flickered, leaving behind afterimages in their original positions with extreme speed. These figures were like foxes, leopards, eagles and rabbits, all emitting an extremely powerful aura. It was obvious that their bodies had been tempered by a large amount of spirit herbs and dragon blood. The magic energy in their bodies was more than 10 times denser than an ordinary person. The power that they could burst out with was definitely not something that an ordinary person could compare with. But in Xia Ping's eyes, such speed was no different from a tortoise. He stood in his original position without moving a single step. In fact, he only stretched out a single finger. The four of them displayed all of their skills. Every punch and kick contained immense power. It was like the rumbling of cannons, and it was also like the fight of a true dragon. The power was boundless. Dong dong dong. But no matter how they attacked or what martial skills they executed, they were all blocked by Xia Ping's finger. The immense power turned into nothingness, like a drop of water merging into the ocean, unable to cause any ripples. After fighting for 10 minutes, Xia Ping still didn't move an inch. On the other hand, Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi, and Su Ji were gasping for breath as they collapsed on the ground, drenched in sweat. In a short 10 minutes of all-out combat, they had exhausted all their magic energy and were no longer able to continue fighting. Impossible. It has only been a year, how can the gap be so big? That's right. Didn't you just advance to the Purple Palace realm? With the four of them working together, you actually only used a single finger? This is too much. You are simply bullying us. Shameless. Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi and Su Ji simply couldn't believe it. They thought that after a year of cultivation, even if they couldn't compare to Xia Ping, they should be able to shorten the gap between them. They didn't expect that the gap would become even bigger. A single finger was enough to crush the four of them. This made them extremely angry as they felt that he was looking down on them. Purple Palace realm? That is already in the past. I have long advanced to the divine realm. Xia Ping let out a faint smile. What? Chapter 13:12. An hour later, after a round of negotiations, Chu Rong and the others exchanged the secret of this place for Xia Ping's help. Xia Ping took out a few sets of clothes from his spatial ring for them to wear. However, they were still fuming and wanted nothing more than to take a bite out of Xia Ping. You actually reached the transcendent realm? What kind of medicine did you take, you freak? Even now, Yuchichi still couldn't believe that Xia Ping had reached the transcendent realm. One had to know that in the mermaid race's tens of thousands of years of history, no mermaid had ever reached the transcendent realm from the Violet Palace realm within a year. Even she, the mermaid monarch who was known as a once-in-a-thousand-years genius of the human race, wasn't this abnormal. It could be said that Xia Ping's cultivation speed had far exceeded her imagination. The universe is vast and the heavenly realm is but a tiny place. Xia Ping smiled and said that he had long since left the heavenly realm for the universe, joined a saint-level sect, and even became a disciple of a saint. Hearing this, Chu Rong, Jiang Yaru, Yuchichi and Su Ji were speechless. They couldn't say anything. They were still in the sky realm, but the other party had already rushed out of the universe. From the perspective of the situation, there was no way they could compare. It was no wonder that they couldn't beat this freak even after such a shocking encounter. Alright, what secret does this place have? Xia Ping asked curiously. There's no secret, just a lot of spirit herbs and spirit fruits. Eat as much as you want. Chu Rong said carelessly, pointing to a nearby herb garden. There were 100 acres of spirit herbs growing there, and the spiritual energy was extremely dense. The four of them probably wouldn't be able to finish all of these spirit herbs in 10 years. Xia Ping also looked over and sighed inwardly. These girls were extremely lucky to have such a large herb garden with spirit herbs to eat. Who knew how many people would be envious and jealous of them? Even the disciples of the Jianghu sect would be jealous if they saw this scene. After all, these spirit herbs were rare even in the universe and required a lot of cosmic dollars. Right, there's also a dragon blood pool. You can bathe in it every night. It's very good for your body. Yuchichi pointed to a palace in another direction, indicating that there was a bathroom there. Dragon blood pool. Xiaoping walked over to take a look and immediately found a pool that was the size of 10 ordinary swimming pools. It contained scarlet dragon blood and gave off boiling heat. It was like lava and continuously bubbled. He could sense how terrifying the energy contained in this pool of dragon blood was. If an ordinary person were to absorb a little, their entire body would explode. Moreover, it could also improve one's aptitude and temper one's physique. Vaguely, he seemed to see a true dragon lying dormant in the depths of the pool. One could imagine how precious this pool of dragon blood was. Who knew how many cultivators would go crazy over it if it was taken out? Great benefits. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. The golden crow of hell bloodline in his body was stirring. If he could absorb the dragon blood, not only would he be able to activate the golden crow of hell bloodline in his body, but he would also be able to increase his magic power. With this pool of dragon blood, it would not be difficult for him to advance to the treasure refining realm. However, the most mysterious thing about this place is that small palace. That place seems to be a laboratory. There are documents everywhere, but we can't see what's written in those documents. Jianghu said in a deep voice as he pointed to a room in the deepest part of the palace. Xiaoping looked over. The room was very small and made of stone. However, it was stained with the aura of a true dragon. It seemed that a powerful being had once lived in this place. Laboratory? Thinking of this, Xiaoping walked over and opened the door of the room. Immediately, he saw the appearance of the room. It looked very ordinary. There was a bed, a chair, and a desk. The desk was covered with papers and documents. However, this paper was not ordinary paper. It was dragon bast paper. It was made from the skin of a true dragon. It would not decay even after millions of years. It was priceless. Normally, dragon bast paper was used to record precious information and immortal skills. However, this kind of dragon bast paper was piled up like a small mountain. It was not stingy at all. What kind of words are these? Xiaoping walked over and opened it. He saw many strange symbols and words on the dragon bast paper. However, he could not recognize a single word. It was not the language of the humans in the cloud realm, nor was it the universal language. This is the language of the dragon race. Corinne said. It was written by the true dragon who once lived in this place. He had followed the sect master of the Stars sect for many years and had also seen the language of the dragon race. What is written on it? Xiaoping asked curiously. I don't know. The language of the dragon race is a unique inheritance of the true dragon. It is one of the secrets of the race. Ordinary people have no way to learn it. Even the sect master didn't understand it. Corinne shook his head, indicating that he didn't understand it either. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Even the knowledgeable Corinne didn't understand it. It seemed that it could only be the help system. System, can you translate the information on these dragon bast papers? Xiaoping asked the system. The system said, this is simple. Translation requires 10 million hatred points. Translate. Xiaoping immediately said. He was very curious about the information here. Anyway, 10 million hatred points was not much. Rumble. As soon as the voice fell, a stream of information immediately poured into Xiaoping's mind. On the first day of the experiment, my luck was really good. I didn't expect to find such a hidden secret realm in this remote corner of the universe. It seems that I can hide for a period of time without being disturbed. The experiment lasted for 30 days. After a month of preparation, hundreds of thousands of races were captured from all over the universe. The experiment can finally begin. I hope this experiment will not disappoint me. The experiment lasted for 3 months. All the major races have been injected with dragon blood so that these races have dragon race bloodline. However, some weak races couldn't withstand the tyranny of dragon blood, and as a result they exploded and died. But the human race is really a race with great potential. Their bodies are weak but they can fuse with different bloodlines. They can even withstand dragon blood. It seems that I have to increase the dosage. In the 3rd year of the experiment went very smoothly. Although many creatures died, the situation of these creatures that fused with dragon bloodline stabilized and began to reproduce. However, they are still in a primitive state and have not formed a civilization. The experiment lasted for 100 years and the reproduction was very smooth. The population of creatures with dragon bloodline has exceeded 10 million, and they have also begun to form tribes. It is estimated that it will not take long for a country to be formed. The experiment lasted for 1,000 years. Life is really wonderful. I didn't expect that such a situation would occur when the bloodlines are mixed. There are dragon human race, dragon rabbit race, dragon bull race, and so on. The genes have mutated and become more powerful. It seems that the dragon gene still contains many secrets. Maybe I can get a glimpse of the secret of becoming a god from it. The experiment lasted for 3,000 years. The funds are spent like water. Why can't money be spent? If there is no money, how can I do experiments? How can I do scientific research? A penny can kill a dragon. Should I rob a few human planets, or rob a saint-level sect, or blackmail a few ancient families? Those forces seem to be very rich. Well, forget it. I believe that for the great cause of this dragon, they should be happy to sponsor. The experiment lasted for 10,000 years. After robbing a few big families, I finally gathered a lot of money. The experiment is going well, but it seems that I caused too much of a commotion and was discovered by a few old farts of the dragon race. The experiment lasted for 30,000 years. Damn it. Those old farts of the dragon race finally discovered this place. They are really stupid and pedantic. Don't they understand how great of a cause this is? Science is the #1 productive force. How dare they stop this dragon, saying that this is taboo? They really deserve to die. They should be thrown into purgatory and burned for 100,000 years. However, it seems that I can't stay in this place anymore. Otherwise, I will definitely be annoyed to death by them. Chapter 13:13. Master, could it be that you understand the information on it? Green Ox saw Xiaoping's expression and could not help but ask curiously. Corinne also saw it, but he was extremely puzzled. This was the language of the dragon race. Even his old master did not understand it. How did a native like Xiaoping understand it? It was too strange. Yes, I understand it. It seems to be left behind by the dragon scientist Titania. Xiaoping said. He secretly sighed. He did not expect the dragon born on this dragon god continent and other monsters with dragon blood to be the work of this dragon scientist Titania. And the humans on this continent, perhaps after Titania's genetic modification, were no longer ordinary humans. No wonder their strength, speed, and recovery were so extraordinary that ordinary humans could not compare to them. Moreover, this continent was only Titania's experimental field. What did you say? Titania? Hearing this, Corinne and Azure Ox's complexion greatly changed. They were startled and shocked again and again. What? Do you know this name? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Corinne was shocked. Yes, who doesn't know this mad dragon scientist? Her evil deeds have long been known throughout the universe. She is 9th on the universe's wanted list, the most evil dragon scientist in history. It is said that for the sake of her experiments, she has done countless evil deeds. She has destroyed billions of human countries and captured hundreds of millions of races. She even dared to capture saints. Compared to Titania, that Saint Blood Soul is simply a child. His crimes can be ignored. Because of her many evil deeds, the dragon race had no choice but to banish this monster of the dragon race. She was listed as an eternal enemy and must be killed without mercy. Even the saints of the entire universe joined forces to put a bounty on Titania's head. The saints said that whoever can kill Titania will receive a promise from the saints. They can get anything they want. Even if they want to become a saint, countless saints will do their best to help them. It revealed the information it knew. That's right. She became famous in ancient times and would commit crazy crimes every once in a while. The most shocking thing is that even though she has done so many evil deeds and is being hunted by countless saints, she has not been arrested and is still alive and kicking. Green Ox was also very emotional. It wasn't strange for evil people to do bad things, but it was terrifying for them to be alive and kicking after being hunted down by countless people without any signs of death. In that case, we've come to an incredible place. Xiaoping touched his chin. Of course, I didn't expect to come to one of Titania's experimental bases. Fortunately, she is not here, otherwise we would all be finished. Maybe we would become her experimental subjects, living a life worse than death. It is said that she can even play with the dead and has done countless terrifying experiments. Both Azure Ox and Corinne sucked in a cold breath, rejoicing. They knew that Titania's research bases were spread across the universe, but every one of them was extremely dangerous. They might even contain secrets that could destroy the universe. In such a dangerous place, not to mention the current them, even their master would not dare to provoke this mad scientist of the dragon race when he was at his peak. After all, he had a record of capturing saints. Once he was targeted, there was no way to escape. If I report this base, will I be rewarded by the sage? Xiaoping asked. Corinne shook his head repeatedly. Don't do such a thing. It's best to pretend that nothing happened. That's right. What's a little reward from the sage? If Titania targets you, it'll be a narrow escape. The loss outweighs the gain. Azure Ox also agreed with Corinne's words. This was the first time they had reached such a unanimous opinion. All right, forget it then. Xiaoping nodded. With his current strength, if he provoked that mad scientist of the dragon race, he didn't know how much trouble he would get into. It was better not to act rashly. He searched the rest of the room but did not find any treasures, so he left for the dragon blood pool. Because he wanted to use the power of the dragon blood pool to step into the treasure refining realm in one fell swoop. At this moment, in the depths of the distant universe, in a space hidden in the depths of a dimension, a beautiful domineering woman woke up. She was wearing a white coat and had a pair of beautiful horns on her head. She had a head of black hair that fell like a waterfall, directly covering her thighs. Her figure was extremely voluptuous, with curves in all the right places. Such a figure was enough to make countless men's imaginations roam. Strange, what awakened this dragon? Could it be that one of my laboratories was invaded by an enemy? This domineering woman stretched and yawned. Her proud parts trembled a little. There was an amazing curve and she was extremely flirtatious. Her slender white fingers lightly tapped the void. Suddenly ripples appeared in the space like water. A mysterious and terrifying power permeated the entire universe, connecting her laboratories everywhere in the universe. However, when this mysterious power came to the Dragon God continent, it was blocked by a mysterious power with a thud, making her power unable to penetrate it. Interesting, it can actually stop this dragon Titania's prying. What kind of existence is it? Suddenly, her beautiful eyes shone like stars, as if there were black holes spinning in the depths of her pupils. They were unfathomable. The entire space was trembling as if it could not withstand the aura emanating from her body. The space was about to collapse from the pressure, making cracking sounds. This aura even spread for hundreds of light years. Countless planets were trembling as if they were about to collapse. Suddenly, this power seemed to alarm the sages everywhere in the universe. They all woke up and looked down. Humph, those old farts are still alive? Sensing some familiar gazes, Titania immediately withdrew her power and hid in the void. She did not make a sound and was not discovered by the other sages. She was still in a weak state, so she could not unleash her full combat power. If she was discovered by the other sages, especially those old farts of the dragon race, she would probably be in big trouble. It was better not to act rashly at this time. Forget it, I'll sleep for a while before waking up. That laboratory is not that big of a deal. If you want to take it, then take it. Titania stretched out her hand and yawned. She lay on the bed again and began to sleep. Because of the previous battle, she was too heavily injured. Now she only woke up for a moment. Then she could not resist the feeling of freedom coming from her body, so she continued to sleep. Chapter 13-14. Dragon Blood Pool. At this moment, Xiaoping was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the pool. Whoosh. He activated the pure yang immortal incantation, and the pores in his body swallowed like giant beasts. Large amounts of dragon blood flowed through the pores and rushed into his limbs and bones. So hot. Suddenly, Xiaoping felt an extremely hot energy rush into his body. It was as if he was being burned by dragon fire, and his meridians were flowing with lava. His whole body was about to be burned. If an ordinary warrior dared to swallow dragon blood like this, it would only take a second for the domineering power of the dragon blood to completely devour them and burn them to ashes. Dragon blood was good, but not everyone could enjoy it. Of course, for Xiaoping, who had formed the golden crow hell body, the domineering power of the dragon blood was nothing. Once it entered his body, it was immediately swallowed by the golden crow hell bloodline. After entering his body, the dragon blood seemed to have a mind of its own. It transformed into small red dragons that swam in Xiaoping's supreme blood vessels and meridians. Counting carefully, there were millions of such small red dragons. As Xiaoping activated the pure yang immortal incantation, the golden crow hell bloodline in his body vibrated, and the shadow of the golden crow of hell formed in his body. It roared at the sky and swallowed the small red dragons into its stomach. What a rich energy! Xiaoping felt that after swallowing the dragon blood energy, the magic power in the depths of his purple palace increased wildly. In a short while, the vast purple palace space was occupied by the liquid magic power, reaching the perfect realm. The perfect realm of the mystic realm. He immediately knew that he had reached the perfect realm of the mystic realm. He was just one step away from stepping into the treasure refining realm and comprehending the power of the heaven and earth formation. Normally, even if his magic power reached the perfect realm, he would not be able to break through to the treasure refining realm in a short time. But when he fought with the 6 Dragonman Emperors, he had many insights. He felt the vast power of the heaven and earth formation and the mystery of the treasure refining realm using the power of the world. This gave Xiaoping a great feeling, and also made him come into contact with a higher level of power. Comprehend the world. Xiaoping closed his eyes, and the power of his divine sense filled the surroundings. He felt the power of the world and wanted to communicate with the power of the world. Immediately, his spiritual consciousness could see that there were many meridians in the world. These meridians intertwined with each other and formed the heaven and earth array. However, these meridians were faintly discernible. To successfully comprehend them and completely comprehend them was not something that could be done in a short period of time. No wonder it's so difficult to break through to the artifact refinement realm. Even the dragon human race, which is an outstanding race and has the help of many elixirs, only has 6 dragon people who want to become emperor-level experts. Xiaoping had a trace of enlightenment. If he wanted to advance to the artifact refining realm, not only did his magic power have to reach the realm of perfection, his divine sense also had to be strong enough. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to sense the heaven and earth array, so how would he be able to smelt the array deep within his body? Even if the 2 powers of magic power and spiritual sense had reached perfection, if he wanted to comprehend the grand array, he would need to slowly comprehend it. It would take at least half a year before he could truly comprehend the heaven and earth array. Wait, the world tree? Xiaoping planned to spend half a year to slowly comprehend it, but suddenly the world tree in the depths of his Zifu space trembled, causing his spiritual consciousness to subconsciously seep into it. Rumble, suddenly he felt his soul shake as if it had been possessed, and entered the body of the world tree. Immediately, Xiaoping sensed that the roots of the world tree had taken root in the endless space-time, and the roots seemed to communicate with the endless dimensions of the universe, absorbing the energy of the universe. With the perception of the world tree, he felt that the heaven and earth array had become extremely clear. If before, the heaven and earth array was like a peerless beauty wearing clothes, and he could only see her appearance but not her essence, then now it was like a beauty without clothes, and he could see everything big and small. Originally, it would have taken him half a year to comprehend, but now he understood it clearly in an instant. It was as if there was an answer directly next to him, and he didn't need to think at all. He just had to copy it. This is amazing. Xiaoping sighed. He sat on the ground, but his soul was traveling with the world tree through space-time, as if his soul had left his body, as if he had experienced a wonderful time travel. This also gave him a better understanding of the heaven and earth array. Dong. Just then, a strand of chaotic aura was captured by Xiaoping's consciousness from the depths of the space. It was forcibly pulled into the roots of the world tree, and then poured into the violet kingdom. Instantly, his violet kingdom underwent an earth-shattering change. It was as if some bottleneck had been broken, and the entire violet kingdom had expanded by many times. At the same time, the mana in the violet kingdom also underwent an earth-shattering change. It turned into a whirlpool like a nebula and kept spinning. Talismans of divine abilities also appeared in the purple palace realm, and they flickered like stars. Rumble, after who knew how long, these magical talismans underwent earth-shattering changes. They immediately turned into whirlpools, and these whirlpools were matrices condensed from mana. The treasure refinement realm. At this moment, Xiaoping finally broke through the limits of the immortal realm and stepped into the treasure refinement realm. He understood the power of the heaven and earth array. From now on, he could be considered a true little master in the universe. He could control the heaven and earth array, attack enemies, and be invincible. If he could get a lot of natural treasures, he could refine all kinds of powerful magic treasures. On a primitive planet, a treasure refinement realm cultivator would be a god, an immortal of the earth. But this was just the beginning. Transforming the magical talismans into a heaven and earth array was only considered to have broken through the limits of the immortal realm. Only when the heaven and earth array was completely integrated into his body could he be considered to have truly stepped into the treasure refinement realm. Integrate. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. He immediately poured the mana whirlpools in the depths of his violet kingdom into his body. The sun god fist condensed into a large array, and immediately integrated into the depths of his heart. This large array seemed to communicate with the pure yang power of the heaven and earth, turning his heart into magma, and the power of the flames skyrocketed. The power of the 5 types of flames in his body also quickly integrated into his heart. What a powerful force! Xiaoping clenched his fists. He felt that his body's strength had greatly increased, and he could control the flames more easily. It was as if he was the ruler of the flames. But this was just the beginning. The star guiding art also condensed into a large array, and it quickly covered his entire body. It was integrated into every acupoint in his body, as if there was a star living in each acupoint. These stars emitted a blue light. If someone could see through them, they would immediately see that these stars seemed to form a star array, communicating with the power of the stars in the outer realm. Chapter 13-15. Xiaoping operated the pure yang immortal secret art, and his pores were breathing like whales, constantly devouring the power of the dragon blood, and the dragon blood in this dragon blood pool was rapidly decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Because condensing the divine ability array requires a lot of energy, if the energy is insufficient, the condensation will fail. Fortunately, there is a pool of dragon blood here which contains a huge amount of energy, and it is enough for him to condense the divine ability array in his body, without worrying about energy exhaustion. Rumble, as the dragon blood integrated into his body, a large amount of energy poured in and transformed into spiritual power. In the depths of Xiaoping's purple mansion space, a group of spiritual power array quickly condensed and turned into a spiritual power vortex. Kunpeng Steps, Hell Demon Suppression Spear, Heavenly Dragon 8 Music, Lion Vajra Seal, Black Vortex Ripple Fist, Azure the Arch Longevity Art, Heart Telepathy Art, Great Yin Yang Tablet Breaking Hand, Nailhead 7 Arrows Art, Dark North Body Protection Art and other cultivation techniques immediately condensed into a large array. The process of condensing the divine ability array was very simple. It was like a natural process, but this kind of thing would only happen when the foundation was perfect. If it was an ordinary cultivator, they would have to worry about the condensation failure all the time, causing the purple mansion to be damaged. Integrate. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light, and the depths of his pupils contained a spiritual power vortex. The entire purple mansion space turned into a sea, with countless whirlpools flowing quickly. After a few breaths, these heaven and earth arrays turned into patterns, and suddenly entered his heart, liver, spleen, lungs and stomach, integrating into every part of his body, enhancing his physical strength. Suddenly Xiaoping felt that his body had undergone earth-shaking changes. These divine ability arrays integrated into his body, and countless spiritual power rushed into his body, fusing with the muscle texture. His life essence was also constantly improving, the power of his spiritual sense increased, and the purple mansion space expanded. Most importantly, his body's lifespan was also doubled than before. Treasure Refining Realm, the body integrated with the heaven and earth array. Such a change was no small matter. What a powerful physique. Xiaoping closed his eyes and felt that his heart had integrated with a large array, and immediately became strong and powerful, constantly beating, and every time the heart beat, the trembling sound seemed to be able to shatter steel. His lungs were breathing like a dragon roaring, swallowing the air, and every wisp of air could turn into a sharp blade, shooting out and instantly piercing a mountain. His stomach was wriggling like a sun furnace, there was a fire burning, and anything that fell into the stomach would be devoured in a few breaths. In addition, other body parts had also undergone great changes. Dark North Body Protection Art condensed into a Kunpeng array, integrated into every inch of his skin, and a complex array appeared on his skin, refining every inch of his skin to be as tough as dragon skin, seeming to contain mysterious energy. The Azure the Arch Longevity Art condensed into the pattern of a tree and merged with every meridian in his body. The roots of the tree seemed to have turned into blood vessels, absorbing the wood elemental energy in the air and greatly increasing his body's resilience, endurance, and vitality. These martial path mystiques, each of which was condensed into an array and integrated into his body, had great benefits for his body. This also allowed Xiaoping's body to evolve towards a monstrous physique. Array Ping's body Tao of Qi. Realm. Xiaoping clenched his fists and integrated the heaven and earth array into his body. It was not as simple as being able to control the power of heaven and earth, but also to completely integrate the spiritual power into every part of the body, causing the physical body to evolve. He could sense that there were many array patterns in the depths of his body. These were all great arrays condensed by martial arts magical powers. They were completely integrated into the body, resonating with the physical body, and the physical body became extremely powerful. It could be said that even if he only used the power of his body, it was enough to easily defeat him before he broke through. The speed of cultivation is also faster. Xiaoping breathed slowly. After smelting the divine art arrays in his body, it was as if he had built a spirit-gathering array in his body. Even if he didn't use his cultivation method, the qi of heaven and earth quickly gathered in his body, penetrated into the Zifu space through the pores, and then quickly refined into spiritual power. This was simply like installing a cultivation accelerator in the body. This was the terrifying part of the refining treasure realm. The speed of cultivation was more than several times that of the divine power realm. Even in sleep, the cultivator of the refining treasure realm could cultivate at all times. It's really mysterious. Xiaoping sat on the ground with his legs crossed. His consciousness spread out and fused with the void. He had stepped into the state of being one with the world and had become one with the world. He could feel the power of the world within the world. It was as if with just a single thought of his, he could activate the energy of the world and unleash a power that could topple mountains and overturn seas. All of a sudden, Xiaoping pointed out gently and a small array formed on his fingertip. An endless amount of heaven and earth power gathered at his fingertip. Boundless energy condensed and burst out instantly. Dong. A wall in the distance was pierced through, creating a huge hole. The surrounding rocks were shattered into pieces. However, this force was controlled to a perfect degree. Other than the place where it was attacked, no other places were harmed. Easy. This is way too easy. Xiaoping's face was filled with joy. If he was at the divine power realm, that attack just now would have required him to expend quite a bit of spiritual power. But now he didn't need to do that at all. With just a single strand of strength, he could manipulate the power of the world to attack. One could say that he had used 10% of his strength to unleash 10% of his destructive power. It was as if he had found a fulcrum and a bamboo pole that was long enough to move the earth with ease. This was the terrifying aspect of the treasure refinement realm. It was not something that the divine power realm could compare with. Even if 100 divine power realm cultivators joined forces, they would not be a match for a treasure refinement realm cultivator. After all, how could a single person resist the power of the world and the power of nature? Only a monster like Xiaoping could surpass this bottleneck and challenge those of higher cultivation levels. Ordinary cultivators could not surpass this bottleneck and were firmly suppressed by their cultivation levels. Looks like I need to consolidate my cultivation for a while more. Xiaoping closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. Although he had broken through to the treasure refinement realm, he had only just broken through. He was still not very familiar with the various mysteries of the treasure refinement realm and needed to carefully comprehend them. In particular, he needed to continuously comprehend the mysteries of the various divine power formations. He estimated that he would need at least a few days to completely stabilize his cultivation in the treasure refinement realm. At the same time, the news of Xiaoping causing a ruckus in Dragon God City, killing 4 dragon human emperors, and even killing the great Emperor Caesar immediately spread throughout the entire Dragon God continent. After all, this matter was too big and too many people had seen it. Even if the dragon human race wanted to hide it, they could not. Chapter 13:16. Holy City of the Human Race. Countless human race elders and 3 human race great emperors were present at this meeting, including the city lord of the 100-mile city, Bai Lihu, General Bai Lihan, and others. I believe everyone has received the news, a human race great emperor said. A human race great emperor said, the new great emperor of the human race, Xiaoping, attacked Dragon God City not long ago and killed all 4 dragon human emperors, including the great Emperor Caesar. The remaining 2 dragon human great emperors were also severely injured, and no one knows where they are now. It is said that he also freed many human slaves. The information contained in these few sentences was too much. The human race elders and many human race generals were dumbfounded and did not know what to say. After a long while, one of the human race elders swallowed and said, "We have indeed received the news, but is it true? Are Emperor Caesar and the others really dead?" This was also the question on most of the human race elders' minds. After all, that was Emperor Caesar of the dragon human race, known as the most powerful great emperor in the history of the dragon human race. He had mastered darkness magic, and his dark space was enough to kill 3 human race great emperors. If they hadn't hidden in the Holy City and relied on the Holy City's array formation to barely contend with Emperor Caesar, the human race might not even have existed. But now there was news that Emperor Caesar had been killed by a new human race great emperor. No matter how they looked at it, they felt that it was a rumor. It is true, the human race great emperor said in a low voice. The motherfucking human king said in a deep voice. Back then, I didn't really believe this piece of news either. However, when I personally headed to the Dragon God City to check it out, I discovered that there was no one in the Dragon God City at all. As for the outside of Dragon God City, there were signs of a great battle. The destruction was shocking, and I even saw the corpses of Emperor Caesar and the other dragon human emperors. Without a doubt, they are all dead. What? The human race elders were excited. If it was any other spy who told them this news, they would be skeptical. But it was the human race great emperor who said this. Moreover, he had personally gone to investigate, which proved that the news was true. Oh my God. Bai Lihu and the others were also dumbfounded, especially Bai Lihu, because a few days ago when Xia Ping had left 100 Mile City, he had bid farewell to him and said that he was going to Dragon God City. At that time he had thought that Xia Ping was joking. Perhaps he had some other urgent matters to attend to. Who would have thought that this fellow had really gone to Dragon God City alone? He had even performed such earth-shattering feats, killed 4 dragon human emperors, and flattened the 2 giant cities of the dragon human race, Dragonhorn City and Dragon God City. This was far too exaggerated. He would have thought that he was dreaming if he wasn't actually attending the meeting of the human race. This is great. Now that the dragon human race has lost 4 great emperors and even the great emperor Caesar is dead, the fate of the remaining 2 dragon human emperors is unknown and they can only hide. Doesn't that mean that the human race is the strongest? That's right. We humans now have 3 great emperors, and there's even a new great emperor who has surpassed Julius Caesar. Who in the entire Dragon God continent can compete with us? Perhaps the human race can become the true overlord of the Dragon God continent. Let's not talk about overlord for now. First, we should send troops to rescue the human slaves that the dragon human race has captured. They have suffered too much. Many human elders discussed animatedly, and all of them looked excited. 4 of the 6 mountains that had been pressing down on the human race were now gone. It was as if the United States had abolished nuclear weapons. Even if the other party still had many elite weapons, a large number of soldiers, and even aircraft carriers without nuclear weapons, how could they fight against a country with nuclear weapons? A nuclear bomb would turn any elite troop into ashes. The so-called aircraft carriers were only slightly larger coffins in the face of a nuclear bomb. Oh yes, where did Great Emperor Xia go? Did he return to the Holy City after killing the 4 dragon human emperors? One of the human elders asked. He wanted to welcome the most powerful human great emperor in history. No, he entered the Dragon God Forbidden Ground and has yet to come out. The human great emperor shook his head. What? Many of the human elders were shocked. They had fought against the dragon human race for such a long time that they knew many secrets about each other. Naturally, they knew about the Dragon God Forbidden Ground. That was the palace where the real dragon god stayed. There were terrifying restrictive formations set up inside. Even a great emperor would be turned into ashes if he entered. Even though the dragon human race had occupied that place for tens of thousands of years, they had yet to discover any secrets. It could be said that that place was the highest secret place in the Dragon God continent. Why did Great Emperor Xia enter the Dragon God Forbidden Ground? Doesn't he know how dangerous it is? One of the human elders asked in confusion. He felt that even a great emperor would be doomed if he entered. There's nothing we can do. That's what the great emperor thinks. One of the human great emperors sighed. He has already killed Emperor Caesar and fought 6 dragon human emperors head-on. He still managed to kill 4 and severely injure 2. His battle prowess is probably at the pinnacle of the great emperor realm. At his level, the so-called power and wealth are not even worth mentioning. The only thing that can interest such a person is the secret left behind by the dragon god. Even if it is dangerous inside, it won't stop him from entering. This is what they mean by knowing the truth in the morning. One can die in the evening without regrets. He expressed that he could somewhat understand Xia Ping's feelings. The other 2 human great emperors also nodded. If they were also at the pinnacle of the great emperor realm, they might have made the same choice as Xia Ping. What a pity. I didn't expect great Emperor Xia to enter the Dragon God Forbidden Ground. Since ancient times, no one who entered the Dragon God Forbidden Ground, including the great Emperor realm experts, came out alive. Not a single one. No matter what Great Emperor Xia is a hero of the human race. He should be commemorated with a monument. That's right. If it wasn't for Great Emperor Xia's life and death struggle, the human race wouldn't have a chance to survive. Many human elders nodded. They decided to commemorate Xia Ping by erecting a longevity monument. They also wanted this event to be recorded in the history of the human race. Bai Lihu and the others were also extremely emotional. They didn't expect that a human they randomly picked up would be such a hero. He saved the human race from danger, turned the tide, and forcibly carved out a path for the human race. One day later, the three human great emperors declared Xia Ping to be the hero of the human race. Every human city had to build a monument and statue of Xia Ping to record his deeds. Several days later, the human race sent out an army. Together with the three great emperors, they attacked the cities of the dragon human race. They destroyed 108 cities in a row and rescued a large number of human slaves. They also occupied a large piece of land. Because the great emperors of the dragon human race were heavily injured, they couldn't resist the high-end combat power of the human great emperors. They were forced to retreat step by step. Until now, they were content with a corner of their territory. They kept shrinking their defensive line and were no longer able to fight against the human race. Chapter 13-17. Several days later, Xia Ping finally came out of seclusion. After a few days of cultivation, he had stabilized his treasure refining realm cultivation. He had completely mastered the power of treasure refining realm. The dragon blood in the pool had also been reduced by half. One could imagine how much dragon blood energy he had absorbed over the past few days. But he was also emotional. If not for the energy provided by the dragon blood pool, perhaps his cultivation would not have been so smooth. My divine sense and spiritual power have become stronger. Xia Ping clenched his fists. After advancing to treasure refining realm, his purple mansion space had expanded. In the end, it had expanded to a diameter of 10,000 kilometers. This was an extremely vast space. At the same time, his divine sense covered a range of 10,000 kilometers. If he was still on Earth, he would probably be able to cover half of Earth with one thought. The power of his divine sense was terrifying. This also made it easier for him to comprehend the heaven and earth formation than ordinary treasure refining realm cultivators. Xia Ping's divine sense moved and the entire palace was covered by his divine sense. The power of his divine sense was all-pervasive and could even attach to different objects. Boom. Immediately, Xia Ping used the power of his divine sense. Countless rocks, dust, and even all sorts of furniture on the ground trembled and then floated up into the air. This power was like telekinesis. The power of one's mind could affect reality. After advancing to treasure refining realm, his ability to control objects had become even more powerful. If it was before, controlling so many objects would have been a bit difficult. But now it was extremely easy. If Xia Ping wanted to, he could use his divine sense to control flying swords and kill people from thousands of kilometers away. Even the ancient sword immortals could only do this. Bloodline power. Xia Ping clenched his fists and felt his blood flow like magma. There seemed to be a golden crow of hell crying deep inside him. His heart was like a morning bell and evening drum, beating with a unique rhythm. These days, not only did his spiritual power cultivation improve greatly, but because he had absorbed large amounts of dragon blood, many of the golden crow of hell cells in his body had been unsealed. So far, he had unsealed a total of 90,000 golden crow hell cells. The lightning trial is probably coming soon. Xia Ping had a feeling that if he continued unsealing and reached 100,000 golden crow of hell cells, he would definitely obtain another golden crow of hell ability and face another lightning trial. The power of the next lightning tribulation would most likely be even more terrifying, possibly reaching up to 36 lightning tribulations. However, he was also very confident in his own strength. Even if he had to face 36 lightning tribulations, he would still be able to withstand it. Beep. At this moment, the system's voice sounded, "Congratulations, host. You have obtained a large number of hatred points from the dragon men. Many dragon men hate the host to the bone and have an irreconcilable feud with you. This time you have obtained a total of 1.01 billion hatred points. I hope the host will continue to work hard." "I'm rich." Xia Ping was overjoyed. Wasn't the reason why he was so high profile to gain the hatred of the dragon human race? Now that he looked at it, he had indeed gotten a lot of hatred. In addition to what he had obtained before and minus the 10 million hatred points he had just spent, his hatred points had now reached 2.5 billion, which was simply an astronomical figure. Who knew how many treasures he could buy from the system? Xiaoping felt like he was a nouveau riche who could buy whatever he wanted. Warning Host. Earlier, when Host was cultivating, a mysterious power tried to spy on Host. However, it was blocked by the system. The enemy is very powerful, and if Host encounters it, Host will die without a doubt. Please leave this dangerous place as soon as possible in order to avoid any unexpected calamity. The system's voice sounded out again. What? Xiaoping frowned. There was a mysterious power trying to spy on him. For something like this to happen while he was cultivating, could it be the owner of this true dragon nest, Titania? However, it was normal. This place was one of Titania's laboratories, and it could be considered her lair. Moreover, this lair had not been destroyed by the enemy. Perhaps Titania had left some backup measures here. By entering the Dragon God continent, he was actually invading Titania's territory. He was considered an intruder. If Titania was a very petty dragon, then his actions would be considered as offending her. Thinking of this, Xiaoping immediately became vigilant. After all, Titania was a mad scientist of the dragon race. Her strength was unfathomable, and she had the power to capture even sages. It would be too easy for her to deal with him. It was not much easier than breathing. Although she was a mighty sage-level figure and might not be interested in him, what if Titania was very interested in him and wanted to capture him for research? It was better to be safe than sorry. As the saying goes, a gentleman does not stand under a collapsing wall. There was no need for him to take this risk and put his life in the hands of the enemy. Looks like this place is not suitable for me to stay for long. If I'm targeted by that mad scientist of the dragon race, then I'm doomed. I'd better leave this place quickly. Xiaoping had already decided to retreat. Anyway, he had already found Chu Rong and the others and obtained a large number of treasures. There was no need for him to continue staying in the true dragon nest. Alright, I'll plunder all the treasures here and leave quickly. With a whoosh, he immediately moved, plucking away a large amount of dragon blood from the dragon blood pool, moving it all into the space of the pearl of mountain and river, not leaving a single drop behind. This dragon blood was an extremely precious resource. It was difficult to find even in the universe. After all, killing a dragon was a serious crime. One would completely offend the dragon race and be hunted down for eternity. Not long after, the entire pool of dragon blood was emptied. What is this? After emptying the dragon blood, Xiaoping immediately discovered that many dragon race characters and dragon race symbols had appeared at the bottom of the pool. They were mysterious and seemed to contain a mysterious power. Translate. Xiaoping subconsciously reached out and immediately spent 10 million hatred points to translate the dragon race characters at the bottom of the pool. Rumble. In the next second, a majestic wave of dragon race characters poured into the depths of his mind, turning into golden symbols in the purple mansion space. It seemed to be deducing a peerless cultivation technique. 7 Fiend Dragon Roar. Xiaoping immediately knew that this was a dragon race's roar cultivation technique. It had reached the level of a saint-tier cultivation technique, one level higher than the 8 heavenly dragons' music. After all, the 8 heavenly dragons' music was a cultivation technique that used the voice of the heavenly dragon to influence the power of heaven and earth. However, the 7 Fiend Dragon Roar was different. It was completely a sound-killing divine ability of the dragon race. It absorbed the 7 Fiend Chi of heaven and earth and combined it with the true dragon roar. The power that erupted was simply earth-shattering. With a single roar, tens of thousands of mountains would be destroyed. This was a cultivation technique inherited from the dragon race. There's actually a dragon race cultivation technique in this place. Not bad. Chapter 13-18. There doesn't seem to be any other treasures. Xiaoping continued to search the dragon blood pool. After plundering all the dragon blood and obtaining the 7 Fiend Dragon Roar, he did not find any other treasures. However, he was satisfied. Obtaining so much dragon blood was a treasure that could not be bought with money in the universe. Once news of this was leaked, who knew how many people would target him? Let's leave after plundering all the spiritual herbs and fruits in this place. Xiaoping rubbed his chin. He knew that there was a herb garden in the draconic god Forbidden Ground that planted a large amount of spiritual herbs. Although it was nothing to Titania, it was an incredible fortune to him. Moreover, these spiritual herbs could be planted in the space of the mountain river pearl and continuously produced. Several hours later, whoosh, the myriad stars left the depths of the draconic god Forbidden Ground. Xiaoping, Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuchichi and Suji were also on the ship, leaving this place together. Before leaving, Xiaoping also cleaned out all the treasures in the draconic god Forbidden Ground, leaving nothing behind. If anyone else accidentally entered this forbidden ground, their faces would probably turn green with anger, because there were no treasures inside. All of them had been taken by Xia Ping. We're finally leaving. I really can't bear to leave. Xia Ping was very emotional. There were many treasures in the true dragon nest, and there were not many dangers. He really hoped to stay longer. After all, after leaving this place, there would be very few places that could have such a great harvest. Hearing this, Chu Rong and the others looked at Xia Ping with disdain. This guy really took advantage of them, and yet he was still pretending to be innocent. If the original true dragon nest knew that everything in their nest had been plundered by this bastard, they would probably chase after him for thousands of miles. Even being robbed would not be this terrifying. It was like being attacked by locusts, the kind where not even a blade of grass would grow. Boom. At this moment, the myriad stars also passed through. Just like the way they came, they were naturally bombarded by the restrictive formations here. The scene was spectacular. What a terrifying restrictive formation. With our strength, we have no hope of leaving this place. Jianghu could not help but feel shocked when she saw the scene outside. Previously, she thought that if she could reach the divine realm, she might have a chance of leaving this forbidden ground. Now, it seemed like it was pure wishful thinking. If Xia Ping did not come, they would not be able to leave this place until they died of old age. If they dared to take even half a step out of the forbidden ground, they would be turned into ashes. When she sensed the energy of the restriction, she felt even more tiny, weak, and powerless, and it seemed as though advancing to the Violet Palace realm was nothing. The universe really is unfathomable. It seems like we are really in the cloud realm. Chu Rong couldn't help but nod. If she hadn't come to the outside world, she wouldn't have known how big the universe was. The so-called invincible monarchs in the cloud realm were just slightly bigger ants in the universe. Advancing to the Purple Mansion realm was the beginning of cultivation. They were still a long way from being complacent. Xia Ping, you promised to recommend us to join the Heaven and Earth faction. Don't go back on your word. Yu Qiqi looked at Xia Ping. She knew that Xia Ping had entered the universe as well, and had even joined a Saint-class sect. That was the reason why his strength had improved by leaps and bounds, reaching the transcendent realm within a year. Yu Qiqi looked at Xia Ping. She knew that Xia Ping had also entered the universe and joined a Saint-class sect. If Xia Ping was still in the cloud realm, he would not be able to improve so quickly. Therefore, she wanted to join the Heaven and Earth sect to obtain a lot of cultivation resources and knowledge. Su Ji nodded. With their current strength, if they did not join a Saint-class sect, they would not be able to achieve anything for the rest of their lives. They also learned from Xia Ping that the cloud realm had undergone earth-shaking changes. It had begun to contact the universe and even entered the universe virtual network. Sooner or later, the cloud realm would become a place where kings were inferior to dogs. This was bound to happen. 1,000 years ago, before the cataclysm, there were pitifully few martial disciples on planet Yanhuang. Martial disciples were the martial arts masters of planet Yanhuang. They were like crabs. But now, the so-called martial disciples were just high school students. They could not even be considered as beginners. Of course, it's not a problem. Xia Ping waved his hand, indicating that this was not a big problem. After all, he was the last disciple of the Dark North Saint. Although his strength was low and he did not have much power to speak of, although he was weak and did not have much power, it was not a big problem to recommend a few disciples with potential to join the Heaven and Earth sect. He was not worried that Jianghu and the others would not be able to join the Heaven and Earth sect. They had bathed in a lot of dragon blood and consumed a lot of treasures. Their qualifications had been greatly improved. Moreover, they were geniuses even in the universe. They would not lose to anyone. Therefore, any sect with a bit of foresight would recruit them. Dong. Soon, the stars left the Dragon God Forbidden Ground and arrived at Dragon God City. We finally left the Forbidden Ground. Yu Qiqi was excited. She felt that she had finally escaped from this cage. Xia Ping, how do we leave this place and return to the Cloud Realm? There seems to be no passage here? Jianghu asked curiously. It seemed that even if they left the Dragon God Forbidden Ground, they would not be able to find a way out. It's okay. We can just jump out. This place can't stop the stars. Xia Ping said. Boom. In the next second, the stars activated and immediately jumped. The huge ship entered the black hole and left the Dragon God continent without a sound. The humans and dragon men of the Dragon God continent did not know that Xia Ping had left without a sound. However, the waves that Xia Ping caused in this world lasted for millions of years and became a legend. At this moment, a black hole appeared in the sky above the cloud realm. The stars immediately came out of the black hole. Whoosh. Soon the stars flew back to the giant island. We're finally back. We must have a feast this time. Strawberry cake, chocolate ice cream, cookies and other delicacies. Wait for me. I'm coming to eat you all. Jianghu, Yuchichi, Suji and Churong were all very excited. Their faces were red because they had finally returned to their hometown. Most importantly, they did not want to eat those monotonous food anymore. The leader and the others are looking for me? Not long after Xiaoping returned to the Cloud Realm, he immediately received a message from the leader and the others. They had something to discuss with him. It seemed that this matter was very important and concerned the kings of the entire Cloud Realm. Beep. Chapter 13-19. Beep. Immediately, a virtual projection appeared. Gu Shilai, Sun Yangdao, Lu Wuming, and the other human sovereigns appeared on the screen. Xiaoping, you finally showed up. If you didn't show up in a few days, we would have left the Cloud Realm, Gu Shilai said straightforwardly when he saw Xiaoping contacting him. Leave the Cloud Realm? Xiaoping blinked and looked at Gu Shilai and the others. That's right. We've finally made up our minds to leave the Cloud Realm and explore the universe to find an opportunity to break through to a higher realm. His eyes revealed a glimmer of light, and an unwavering will flickered in the depths of his pupils. The other human sovereigns nodded and made the same decision. Especially the invincible sovereigns who had reached the transcendent realm. They had been stuck at this bottleneck for too long and wanted to break through to a higher realm. However, they didn't have enough cultivation resources and martial arts knowledge, so they couldn't break through. If Xiaoping hadn't appeared, they would have been stuck like this for the rest of their lives. But now it was different. Xiaoping brought the Universe Virtual Network to let them know the vastness of the universe. They knew that the transcendent realm was just cannon fodder in the universe and was only the starting point of martial arts. If that was all, it would have been fine. However, the Red Scarf bandits attacked and Xiaoping easily defeated them, obtaining the spaceships brought by the bandits. One must know that these spaceships were capable of interstellar travel. With these spaceships they could travel through space and reach the distant star fields. Therefore, with so many factors superimposed, they finally made up their minds to go to the depths of the universe to find an opportunity to break through. In fact, this was also the general trend and the choice of the era. Congratulations. Xiaoping sighed. He also knew that this day would come sooner or later. Although Gu Shilai and the others were the protectors of humanity, they were also martial artists who yearned for the peak of martial arts. It would have been fine if they didn't know how big the world was, but now that they knew, they couldn't bear it. Of course, because of the emergence of the Skynet system, the safety of humans in the Cloud Realm was no longer worried. The marine race and the demon race couldn't stop the human race from dominating the world, and the alien invasion could be easily defeated. As the protectors, they could finally unload their burdens. Even without them in the Cloud Realm, there wouldn't be any problems for humanity. This was probably one of the reasons they made up their minds to leave the Cloud Realm. Therefore, he had no reason to stop these human experts from coming. This was what they deserved. After protecting humans for such a long time, they should have found something they liked to do. However, although you plan to go to the universe, what do you want to do? Do you have any plans? Xiaoping asked curiously because the universe was different from the Cloud Realm. In the Cloud Realm, they were invincible kings. No one could defeat them and they were respected. However, once they stepped into the universe, they were just ants, not worth mentioning. The slightest bit of carelessness could lead to them being annihilated by an expert and vanishing without a trace. Most importantly, they were too old. Even if they wanted to join a saint-level sect, no one would be willing to accept them, even with Xiaoping's recommendation. This blocked many of their paths. We intend to join the Universe Mercenary Organization. Gu Lai stated his decision. This was a decision they had made after careful consideration. Universe Mercenary Group? Xiaoping's eyes gleamed. This organization could be considered one of the superpowers in the entire universe. Its members could be found all over the universe, and it was even more terrifying than a Saint-class sect. However, its structure was loose and anyone could join as a mercenary. This also caused the organization to be a mix of good and bad people. However, it had to be said that this organization was the best place for rogue cultivators in the entire universe. This was because once one became a mercenary, they could accept missions issued by the Universe Mercenary Organization. If they could complete the missions, they could obtain a lot of rewards. They could exchange the rewards for higher-level cultivation methods and precious cultivation resources. In fact, many mercenaries had made a name for themselves by relying on the Universe Mercenary Organization and became almighty. There were even some powerful sages in history. This had become a legend among mercenaries. When do you plan to leave? Xiaoping asked. He understood the plan of Gulai and the other human kings. Moreover, human kings like them who had lived for thousands of years were all sly and cunning people. They had seen everything and experienced everything. They did not need a young man like him to remind them whether it was dangerous or not. Since they had made such a decision, it proved that they had a certain degree of awareness. The only thing he could do was to wish them well. We leave in 3 days, Gulai said. And this time it's not just us humans who are going. Kings of the Demon Clan and the Oceanic Clan are also going. We can look after each other. Kings of the Demon Clan and the Oceanic Clan. Xiaoping raised an eyebrow. He did not expect the kings of the Demon Clan and the Oceanic Clan to also plan to go to the universe. But in fact there was nothing strange about it. With the Skynet system set up in the Cloud Realm, the Oceanic Clan and the Demon Clan could not do anything no matter how much they tried. Basically, their path of conquering the Cloud Realm was blocked. If the humans wanted them to die, they would not be able to live. Since this was the case, they completely let go and no longer fought against the humans. They obediently surrendered. Moreover, some of the invincible demon kings were like the human kings. They had the ambition to ascend to the peak of martial arts. They also wanted to become the legendary demon sages and live forever. However, it was absolutely impossible to achieve this by staying in the Cloud Realm. Therefore, they decided to leave the Cloud Realm with the human kings and explore the universe. Leader, have a safe journey. Xiaoping said sincerely. He knew that the path to the universe would not be smooth. Moreover, he was going to become a mercenary in the universe. It would not be surprising if he died one day during a mission. Perhaps after today it would be the last time they met. Ah, thanks. Maybe one day we will meet somewhere in the universe. With a snap, after saying this, Gu Shilai and others hung up the phone. The reason why they called Xiaoping was just to say goodbye before they left. They didn't have so much affection for each other. Leaving the Cloud Realm? Seems like the leader and the others are still young. I can't lose. Xiaoping clenched his fist. Gu Shilai and the others were among the geniuses of the human race. Otherwise, they would not have been able to become transcendent realm experts with such resources and such an environment. If they went to the universe and had a little adventure, they might be able to soar to the sky. If they were dragons, they would become dragons no matter where they were. Let's cultivate and successfully cultivate the 7 Fiend True Dragon Roar. Chapter 13:20. Several days later. In a quiet room, Xiaoping sat cross-legged on the ground. His body turned into a whirlpool of spiritual energy. The spiritual energy around him surged into the depths of his purple palace and was quickly converted into spiritual energy. It wasn't just spiritual energy. As he breathed, a powerful baleful aura surged out from the depths of the space. This baleful aura was extremely terrifying. It contained the scent of blood, slaughter, madness, and many others. Just a trace of it was enough to drive an ordinary person crazy. It also specialized in breaking through one's earth energy. But under Xiaoping's devouring, this baleful aura was no different from ordinary spiritual energy. When it entered his body, it was instantly devoured by the flames and its essence was absorbed. Boom. Just at this moment, the purple palace shook. A whirlpool of spiritual energy quickly appeared. In the depths of the whirlpool, a mysterious array appeared. It seemed to contain a true dragon that roared at the sky. Very quickly, the array whirlpool turned into a picture of a true dragon. It left the purple palace and entered Xiaoping's throat, causing his body to change. Roar. Xiaoping opened his eyes and mouth, letting out a roar. This was like the roar of a true dragon. The terrifying sound wave was filled with destructive power. With a boom, the entire room was filled with this sound wave. In an instant, it was shaken to pieces. The originally tough outer wall now had spiderweb-like cracks. Large amounts of rubble rolled down. Even the floor had more than 10 cracks. It was as if the entire room was about to be destroyed. And this was because Xiaoping was controlling his spiritual energy so that the room would be affected. If he used his full power, the entire giant island would probably be razed to the ground. This was the Dragon Clan's mystique, 7 Malice Dragon Roar. As expected of the Dragon Clan's mystique. It's too powerful. Xiaoping clenched his fist. After several days of cultivation, he had finally succeeded in condensing this mystique of the Dragon Clan. To successfully cultivate this sound wave mystique of the Dragon Clan, one needed to absorb the baleful aura of heaven and earth and integrate it into one's body. It was basically impossible for an ordinary person to successfully cultivate it. After all, once the baleful aura entered one's body, it would immediately corrode and cause the body to collapse. Only those with a body as strong as the Dragon Clan had the qualifications to successfully cultivate this mystique and resist the corrosion of baleful aura. If anyone else wanted to cultivate it, they would be courting death. However, the power of this divine ability was directly proportional to the difficulty of cultivating it. After fusing the 7 baleful chi and combining it with the true dragon's roar, the destructive power produced was incomparable. If he were to use his full strength, his roar would probably affect everything within 10,000 li. With his body as the center, everything within a range of 1,000 li would become a life-forbidden zone, corroded by baleful energy. Within 1,000 years, all ordinary creatures would die if they entered, as if they were exposed to nuclear radiation. I still don't have enough baleful aura. If I can find a large amount of pure baleful aura to devour and assimilate it into my body, I will definitely be able to raise the power of this mystique to an unimaginable level. Xia Ping's eyes shone brightly. He could sense that he had only succeeded in cultivating this dragon clan's sacred art. This sacred art still had a lot of potential to be unearthed. Plus, after successfully cultivating this technique, his chi increased quite a bit. He was heading towards the intermediate stage of the treasure crafting realm, and he was training his martial arts foundation. However, the heavenly world's law of heaven and earth is truly powerful. As expected, I can't unleash the power above the divine realm. Xia Ping wanted to mobilize the power of heaven and earth, but he found that the law of heaven and earth in this place was too strong. It was as if the power in his body had been sealed by an almighty being, and he could not unleash the power of the treasure crafting realm. This feeling was a bit uncomfortable. It was like an ordinary person's feet were shackled and could not unleash their own power. However, cultivating in this kind of environment was not necessarily a bad thing. He could feel some of his own shortcomings. Let's go out. It seems like I haven't left the quiet room for a long time. Xia Ping stood up and loosened his bones. Pa pa pa, like the thunder of a tiger, he walked out of the quiet room and enjoyed the sunlight outside. As soon as he walked out of the quiet room, he discovered that Chu Rong, Jianghu, Yuqiqi, and Su Ji, the 4 women, were also waiting outside the living room. They were all happily eating their food. On the dining table, there was a dazzling array of food that exuded a pleasant aroma. These few days they had been stuffing themselves with food as if to make up for the food they had not eaten for a year. Eating so much, aren't you afraid of getting fat? Xia Ping sat down on the side, not bothering to be polite. Are you asking for a spanking? Chu Rong gave him a sidelong glance, her beautiful eyes revealing a trace of killing intent. He actually dared to say such unromantic words to a virtuous lady who was enjoying her food. If he wasn't asking for a spanking, then what was? She wanted to hammer him. Humph, this princess has a physique that won't get fat no matter how much I eat. It's commonly known as natural beauty. Yuqiqi picked up a piece of cream cake and started munching on it, looking at Xia Ping with a provocative expression. I can't tell that you're a natural beauty, but I can tell that you're thick-skinned, Xia Ping said with disdain. Yuqiqi bared her teeth, wanting to throw the cake at him. Fat. Su Ji and Zhang Yar both felt a bit guilty. They looked at their own figures, seemingly a bit concerned. He's not fat in other areas, but he's fat in a certain area. He's very fierce. Xia Ping rubbed his chin, looking up and down at Su Ji and Zhang Yar's figures, feasting his eyes. Pay. Pervert. Su Ji and Zhang Yar's charming faces turned red, and immediately spat at Xia Ping. They knew what this pervert was talking about, especially his gaze, as if he couldn't wait to strip them naked. That's right, pervert. Yuqiqi seemed to have remembered something. She blinked her big watery eyes at Xia Ping and said, Do you have any extra equipment on you? We want to enter the Universe Virtual Network to take a look. Hearing this, Jiang Yaru, Su Ji and Chu Rong all nodded. They were very curious about the Universe Virtual Network. This kind of technology was beyond their imagination. Entering the Universe Virtual Network with one's consciousness was like descending with one's real body, and experiencing the virtual world was practically one of humanity's ultimate dreams. The current technology in the cloud realm was unable to achieve this. Of course, the most important thing was that if they could log into the Universe Virtual Network, they would be able to communicate with extraterrestrials and experience the customs of the various parts of the universe. But without equipment they couldn't log in. They could only look at it enviously. No problem. I have a few more here. We can go in and take a look later. Xia Ping casually replied as he picked up a soup bun and ate it. He suddenly remembered that it was also time for him to take a trip back to the Universe Virtual Network. A year ago he had borrowed money from those kids. Of course, to the current him this amount of money was nothing. It was just a small amount. But he was a man of his word, so he definitely had to return the money. An hour later, Xiaoping ate and drank to his heart's content. He immediately took out the virtual equipment and threw it to Yuchichi and the others, then taught them how to use it. Chapter 1321. Universe Virtual Network, Far East City. After logging in, Xiaoping, Chu-Rong, Yuchichi, Jianghu, and Suji appeared in the virtual city's teleportation point. Is this the virtual network's Martial Dao space? It's so real. Yuchichi and the others gasped in amazement. They were like Granny Lu who had entered the Grand View Garden. They felt that this world was incomparably real, as though it was the real world. There were senses of taste, touch, smell, pain, and many more. Apart from not dying, this virtual world was no different from the real world. We can actually enter Far East City? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows because according to the patterns of the cities in the Martial Dao space, they were divided into Lower City, Intermediate City, and Upper City. Among them, the Lower City could only be entered by Purple Mansion Realm, Fulfillment Realm, and Divine Realm cultivators. The Intermediate City could only be entered by Treasure Refining Realm, True Fire Realm, and Golden Core Realm cultivators. The Upper City could only be entered by Origin Realm, Transcendence Realm, and Thunder Calamity Realm cultivators. Far East City was actually a lower city. It could only accommodate Purple Mansion Realm, Fulfillment Realm, and Divine Realm cultivators. Beyond this range, cultivators would automatically enter the Intermediate City. But he had already advanced to Treasure Refining Realm. According to the rules, he couldn't enter a lower city, but now he could. Is it because of the suppression of Cloud World's rules? Xiaoping guessed. He thought about it, and the reason was probably above Cloud World. Due to the suppression of the heaven and earth rules in the Cloud Realm, his cultivation was suppressed to the pinnacle of the Divine Realm. It was as if his cultivation was sealed. Perhaps because of this, the Universe Virtual Network recognized him as a Divine Realm cultivator, allowing him to enter Far East City. But even if he could enter Far East City, he still felt that his cultivation was sealed at the peak of Divine Realm. He couldn't use the strength above Treasure Refining Realm. But even so, with his current strength, it was enough to be unrivaled in a lower city. But why do you want to change your appearance and name after entering the virtual space? And you want us to change our appearance and name as well? Jianghu looked at Xiaoping with a puzzled face. Originally, they wanted to enter the virtual space with their real name and appearance, but under Xiaoping's dissuasion, they still changed their name and appearance and appeared in this place with different appearances. The main reason is that the universe is too dangerous. The world is dangerous. If I expose my name and appearance, wouldn't it be easy for my enemies to hunt me down? You have to be careful when you do things. Don't casually expose your identity. As a senior, Xiaoping spoke eloquently about the dangers of the universe. We usually keep a low profile and never make enemies with others. How can there be so many people seeking revenge? Tell me the truth, did you do something infuriating in this place and make enemies everywhere? Yuchichi and the rest looked at Xiaoping suspiciously. They felt that Xiaoping was a restless scoundrel who would wreak havoc wherever he went, making enemies everywhere he went. They would find it strange if this guy stopped causing trouble one day. Of course not. I'm such a low-key person. How could I do something that would anger the heavens and people? You're wearing colored glasses. Xiaoping looked wronged, indicating that he was usually very low-key and would never cause trouble. Before he could finish his words, many people saw Xiaoping, and they all started to make a big fuss. Wu Wudi, you scoundrel, you still dare to come to Far East City? You've got guts. A middle-aged man jumped out and glared at Xiaoping. He seemed to be unable to control the anger in his heart and wanted to rush up and beat Xiaoping up. But before he could rush up, the Far East City guard saw the situation and immediately restrained him. They stabbed him in the abdomen, causing him to fall to the ground and scream in pain. Even so, he still roared as if he wanted to beat Xiaoping up. We don't welcome swindlers like you here. Scram immediately. Return the money immediately. You swindler, do you still have any shame? Do you still have any shame? Many people roared and told Xiaoping to scram. All of them were very agitated and filled with righteous indignation. But this was the city's safe zone, so they didn't dare to make a move and could only shout. Compared to the time when they were scammed, the people of Far East City seemed to be even angrier, as if they wanted to tear Xiaoping apart. Actually, there was a reason for this. Previously, in order to earn money, Xiaoping had written a book called 36 Stratagems of Deception. In the end, this book sold well in the 4 major star fields and became a household name. As Far East City was the place where Xiaoping became famous, the things that happened here were also dug up by countless people and reported by a large number of reporters with exaggerated details. The result was as one could imagine. The people of Far East City were ridiculed by many, thinking that they were idiots with no brains. They were worried that the people of Far East City would be scammed even when they went out to buy a bottle of soy sauce. Many people looked at the people of Far East City as if they were looking at a retard, which made them even angrier. He hated Xiaoping, the instigator of all this, to the bone. He wanted nothing more than to beat this guy up and skin him alive. And you still say that you didn't cause any trouble? Why are there so many people who want to kill you? Yuchichi was speechless. This was truly a raging crowd. There was no lack of experts at the pinnacle of the transcendent realm. Being stared at by so many enemies, she felt as if her life was frozen in water. Although she knew that Xiaoping was a person who liked to cause trouble, she did not think that it would be so big and that he would have so many enemies. If she had known earlier, she would never have gotten together with this bastard. Now she was simply inviting an undeserved disaster. No, these are all fans, people who worship me. It's just that their emotions are a little agitated. Xiaoping said arrogantly, refusing to admit it. Not just a little agitated, but there are also many people who want to chop you to death. If not for the city guard stopping you, you would have been chopped into pieces. Jianghu's mouth twitched. Sigh, this is the love of fans. It's just that the expression is a little new, but I can understand how they feel when they see their idol. Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back. Is that so? Why do I hear so many people telling you to scram and return money? Just what have you done? Chu Rong gritted her teeth. She felt that Xiaoping had become the public enemy of the entire city. The kind that everyone wanted to beat up. It was no wonder that this bastard did not dare to reveal his true face. Even his name was hidden. If his true identity was exposed, there might be aliens coming to kill him from several starfields away. Those people are all anti-fans. They like to slander others, frame others, and stir up trouble. Just ignore them. As a celebrity, it's embarrassing to go out and meet others without anti-fans. I'm used to it. Xiaoping sighed. As a celebrity, he was surrounded the moment he went out. The pressure was a little big, but he could still bear it. I feel that your skin is thicker than the city walls. Chapter 1322. Although the people of Far East City were clamoring, they knew that they couldn't do anything to Xiaoping in the Far East City safe zone, so they only clamored at the side, not daring to make a move. But even so, they were still eyeing Xiaoping covetously, seemingly looking for an opportunity to make a move. Chu Rong, Suji, Yuchichi, and Jianghu quickly found out what Xiaoping had done in Far East City that caused the wrath of the heavens and the people. They even publicized this matter, causing many people to point fingers at them. One could imagine the hatred these people had for Xiaoping. They even had the heart to peel off his skin and pull out his tendons. Boom! At this moment, the entire Far East City suddenly stirred, even more chaotic than when Xiaoping appeared. Let's go, a Saint Tier forging technique has appeared outside. The holder has already been discovered. Immediately go and snatch it or else there won't be a chance. Someone roared with an excited expression. Hearing this, the people of Far East City were all excited. Even those who were watching Xiaoping and wanted to secretly make a move were alarmed and quickly left Far East City. What happened? Xiaoping's eyes flashed. He sensed that something big had happened in Far East City. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caused such an uproar in the entire Far East City. He used the power of his divine sense to silently infiltrate the surrounding crowd, trying to find out the news. Sure enough, this group of people were discussing this matter. So that's how it is. Xiaoping revealed a look of understanding. Through these people's simple descriptions, he finally knew what had happened. It turned out that someone was fighting monsters in the wild, and after killing a divine ability level beast, it unexpectedly dropped a Saint Tier forging technique, called the Distant Fire Forging Technique. This was a secret technique that described how to forge magic treasures. It was said that it was left behind by the ancient saint, the Distant Fire Ancestor. This secret technique had always been in the virtual world and no one had ever found it. Compared to ordinary Saint Tier cultivation techniques, Saint Tier forging techniques were even more precious. Even Saint Tier sects had very few of them. After all, with this kind of forging technique, one could forge a steady stream of powerful magic treasures. Even Saint Tier weapons could be forged. Once one mastered this forging technique, one could immediately become a master blacksmith. At that time, Even Saint-tier sects would fight over you and let you become the sect's VIP. No matter what, top-notch blacksmiths were as rare as pandas. One could imagine how crazy the people of Far East City became after hearing this news. Every single one of them wanted to seize it and take it for themselves. This was a chance for them to reach the heavens in a single step, a chance to leap over the Dragon Gate. Not only the people from the Far East City, but the people from hundreds of nearby cities also heard the news. They all rushed here hoping to snatch the secret skill. I didn't expect this news to be leaked. Xia Ping touched his chin. Normally, anyone who obtained such a precious secret technique from killing monsters would keep it a secret and not leak it out. The problem was that the secret technique was a spiritual inheritance unique to Patriarch Li Hua. Only one person could receive it. It was not hard to imagine that everyone in that team wanted to monopolize the secret technique. No one was willing to back down. In the end, the group of people killed each other, and in the end, one person obtained the distant fire forging technique. Who would have thought that those who had been defeated would not give up and immediately leak the news? As a result, countless cultivators found out about this and set off from the city to snatch the distant fire forging technique. Strange, if he obtained this secret skill, why didn't he go offline immediately? Jianghu asked curiously. She felt that this was the virtual world and she would not die anyway. If she immediately went offline, she could still keep the secret skill. He can't go offline in the wild unless he commits suicide or is killed. Xia Ping shook his head. Once he goes offline, everything on him will be revealed, including this secret skill. Moreover, it's not realistic for him to learn it immediately. After all, this is the inheritance of Patriarch Li Hua. It takes several days to accept the inheritance. If he is disturbed during this time, all his previous efforts will be wasted, and his spirit will be damaged. So, under the siege of so many people, he probably won't dare to go into seclusion to accept the inheritance. It was also because of this reason that the person who obtained the distant fire forging technique was being chased by countless people. He was hiding in the mountains and did not dare to show his face until now. If he dared to show his face, he would definitely be blasted into ashes. I see. Jianghu and the others nodded, indicating that they understood. Distant fire forging technique? That's a pretty good secret skill. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. After advancing to the artifact refining realm, he could already try to forge artifacts. So he still lacked a method to forge artifacts. This distant fire forging technique seemed to be very suitable for him. Although he had many powerful artifacts on him, after reaching the artifact refining realm, the most important thing was to forge his own natal artifact. This was the most powerful artifact. If he could successfully forge it, the natal artifact would continuously evolve along with his cultivation. In the end, it could even evolve into a saint artifact. Because it was connected to his heart and soul, he could continuously forge it. Therefore, a natal artifact was more suitable for him than any other artifact. It was also more powerful. Basically, all saints or almighty beings would have their own natal artifact. Looks like I'll have to go out into the wild and find that distant fire forging technique. Xia Ping made up his mind. He also wanted to get a share of the loot. There was no reason for him to give up the treasure in front of him. Moreover, with his current strength, there were not many people who could defeat him in a low-level city. Beep beep, at this moment, his communication device rang. Xia Ping subconsciously picked it up and immediately heard a naughty voice. Native Big Brother, where are you now? We're here to play with you. He opened the virtual projection, and a little loli appeared in front of him. Behind the little loli was a large group of brats. She was like the king of children. Xia Ping immediately recognized them. Wasn't this group of brats the ones he met in the novice village? It just so happened that he was planning to return all the money to this group of children. I'm currently in Far East City, he replied. Great, we can already leave the novice village. We'll go find you now. The little loli Yijia said excitedly. The other children's eyes were also shining. Then she quickly hung up the phone with a snap. What? The corner of Xia Ping's mouth twitched. Left the novice village? Didn't that mean that they had already advanced to the Purple Mansion realm? Although he already knew that this group of brats wasn't simple, their advancement speed was too fast. Moreover, they were only 7 or 8 years old. Some were only 5 or 6 years old. They were simply monsters. If their situation was in the cloud realm, it was unknown how many people would be scared to death. Chapter 1323. Far East City. A group of brats ran out from the teleportation circle. Wow, is this a big city? The world where the adults live is so amazing. There are so many adults. Ah, it's better to leave that boring novice village. This place seems fun. But Mom doesn't allow us to play here. If we get found out, our butts will definitely bloom. Don't worry, we definitely won't get found out. We'll sneak in. Look, big bro native is over there. Yeah, let's go. The group of brats shouted excitedly towards Far East City. It was as if they were seeing a panda for the first time. They quickly discovered Xiaoping nearby and ran over. Xiaoping, you bastard. Seeing this, Yu Qiqi shouted, it's only been a year and you've already gotten so many illegitimate children. Tell me, just how many extraterrestrial girls have you harmed in this year? What illegitimate children? Can they grow so big in a year? Don't think you can talk nonsense just because you're fierce. Xiaoping said in a bad mood and knocked her on the head. Who knows what the aliens are made of? Who knows, they might grow like balloons in a year. What's so strange about that? Yu Qiqi said disdainfully. She wasn't lying. Among the many oceanids, there were some special fish demons that grew extremely fast. They could reach maturity in a year and completely mature. In the boundless universe, there were many more races than the oceanids. It wasn't strange for such a race to appear. Jianghu, Suji and Chu Rong also looked at Xiaoping suspiciously. This scoundrel was famous for his philandering. Even if these children weren't his children, they could still be the younger siblings of those extraterrestrial girls he had flirted with. Big bro native, who are these big sisters? The little lowly Yi Jiajia looked at Yu Qiqi and the others with a puzzled expression. This was the first time she saw them. They're all my concubines. I brought them out to see the world. Xiaoping said carelessly. Concubines? Jianghu, Chu Rong, Yu Qiqi and Suji all gritted their teeth. Their beautiful eyes were about to spit fire. They simply wanted to roast this guy and eat him and add some cumin. Hello, sister-in-law. The group of wimpy kids greeted him politely. In an instant, Jianghu and the other three's faces turned as red as tomatoes. Not bad. Xiaoping was very satisfied. This child was worth teaching. In the distance, a group of people from Far East City gnashed their teeth in anger. Damn it, this damn swindler even brought women when he came out. Moreover, he brought 4 of them along with him. This is too much. One of them clenched his teeth. He was extremely jealous and wanted nothing more than to replace him. He's rich now with a net worth of billions. What's the big deal about bringing 4 people? Even 400 is nothing. If I had money, I would definitely indulge in sensual pleasures every night, leading a befuddled life. Some people spoke with jealousy, envy, and hatred. 400? 4 of them will squeeze him dry in a single night. There have always been cows that die from plowing, not fields that are spoiled. Sooner or later, this guy will die on the bellies of these women. Some people cursed fiercely, hoping that Xiaoping would lose his masculinity as soon as possible, so that he wouldn't even be able to take off his clothes when he saw a beauty. Only then would they feel better. Bullshit, his net worth of billions is all because of swindling people. Without our hard-earned money, he wouldn't be as carefree as he is today. Just thinking about it makes me sullen. This guy takes our hard-earned money to eat and drink all day long. He lives in a luxurious mansion and takes care of young MO and female celebrities. He takes all the benefits. God is blind. Yeah, why doesn't God send down a bolt of lightning to strike him to death? Everyone was incomparably sullen. The more comfortable Xiaoping was, the more unhappy they were, because this bastard's happiness was built on top of their pain. Alright, will this kid also choose to leave the city to fight for the distant fire forging technique? Suddenly, someone raised such a thought. How would he dare to go out? Doesn't he know how many people in Far East City want to kill him? That's right, he only dares to hide in Far East City. It's impossible for him to go out. Once he goes out, this kid will immediately be chopped into pieces by the angry crowd. Even if he won't die in the virtual world, it'll be enough to make him suffer. I want to see how he looks when he leaves Far East City. There will be a good show then. Many people sneered. They were looking forward to Xiaoping leaving Far East City. Without the safety zone's restriction, this kid wouldn't even know how he died. Oh right, don't call me a native. I have a name, Wu Wudi. On the other hand, Xiaoping educated the group of children. Got it, Big Brother Wu. The group of children patted their chests and were very obedient. Big Brother Wu. The little lowly Yi Jiajia immediately said, when are you going to take us to fight the mountain bandits? We have been waiting for a long time. She looked at Xiaoping with big watery eyes. The other children were also excited. They worked so hard to advance to the Purple Mansion realm because they wanted to follow Xiaoping to fight the bad guys. Previously, when they worked together with Xiaoping to eliminate the group of mountain bandits, it made them reminisce for a long time. What mountain bandits? Don't you guys need to go to class? Xiaoping said casually. Our school has already started its summer vacation, so we have a lot of time. Yi Jiejie said proudly. Xiaoping rubbed his chin and thought for a moment. That's fine. Today I want to leave Far East City to catch a bad guy. You guys can come with me. He originally wanted to snatch the distant fire forging technique by himself, but it wasn't a big problem to bring these children along. Moreover, these children were all rich and powerful. If he could snatch the distant fire forging technique, he might be able to use their identity to stop other people with ulterior motives. Catch a bad guy. Hearing this, the eyes of the group of children lit up. They knew it would be interesting the moment they heard it. That's great. Yi Jiejie and the other children were excited. They couldn't wait to set off. Alright then, let's go. Xiaoping snapped his fingers and walked towards the city gate of Far East City. The group of children followed behind him excitedly. Jianghu and the others looked at each other helplessly. They felt as though they had entered kindergarten and had to take care of a group of little brats. But they weren't particularly worried about this mission. They had seen Xiaoping's strength before. No matter how dangerous the situation was, he could always turn misfortune into fortune. Not long after, they left Far East City. Oh my god, that Wu Wuti actually left. He's courting death. He's courting death. Even the heavens want to destroy him. This is the will of the heavens. How long have we waited? Finally, this brat has the chance to court death. The heavens aren't being kind to me. Immediately inform the other brothers to join forces and surround the great swindler Wu Wuti. Chapter 1324. At this moment, the news of Xiaoping leaving Far East City and heading to the wilderness shook Far East City. Countless people knew about it, especially some dark organizations, and they were eager to make a move. For example, the Black Tiger Gang was the largest gang in Far East City. At the same time, it was also a dark organization in the real world. They killed people like flies and made people tremble with fear. Boss, that swindler Wu Wuti finally left the city. Haha, after waiting for him for so long, we finally have this opportunity. I heard that he published a book that sold more than 100 million. Now he has at least 7 billion universe dollars. Damn, how can this son of a bitch earn so much? Our Black Tiger Gang works hard and hangs our heads on our waist every day, but we don't earn that much. He just wrote something and he earns so much. It's too much. Hee, isn't this better? Wouldn't a rich person like him who had no strength be the biggest fat sheep? If we capture this guy and blackmail him, we might be able to earn a few billion. Many members of the Black Tiger Gang revealed ferocious and greedy looks. They all wanted to capture Xiaoping immediately and blackmail him to plunder his money. Because the wealth of a few billion universe dollars was too shocking. Usually, only big clans could take out so much money, and those people were all top experts. Wu Wuti seemed to be only at the Purple Mansion realm. If such a person wasn't a fat sheep, then who was? Although Wu Wuti was famous, he was still a swindler. Swindlers would only make people angry, but they wouldn't be respected. But this is the virtual world. Even if we can capture him, if he commits suicide, he can immediately return to the real world. At that time, I'm afraid he will hide and not appear. How can we blackmail him? Some members felt that this matter was not reliable. If it was in the real world, they could threaten Wu Wuti's life, but in the virtual world, he wouldn't die. How could they threaten him? The leader of the Black Tiger Gang, Lu Hu, sneered. Don't worry, I already thought of this. Look at what this is. He took out a silver-white needle from his body, which emitted a terrifying cold air. The surrounding people couldn't help but shiver when they saw it. This was a bone-chilling cold. Everyone took a few steps away from Lu Hu, afraid of being frozen by this cold air. My god, isn't this the Ice Soul Silver Needle? Leader, how did you get such a precious thing? What? It's actually the legendary Soul Freezing Silver Needle. It's said that it's a one-time use secret treasure with great power that can harm the souls of living beings. It's extremely terrifying. Once you're hit, your soul will be frozen and you'll die. Many of the sect members were filled with wariness, and fear appeared in their eyes. Maybe you guys know that the universe virtual network is a space between the virtual and the real. That's why it's so real. To a certain extent, it's the real space. The leader of the Black Tiger Gang, Lu Hu, said, and when we enter this virtual space, it is also with our souls. Therefore, every time we die here, our souls will be severely injured, and it will take at least a few months to recover. Therefore, this also means that if there is a secret technique or magical equipment that attacks the soul, even in the virtual world, it can heavily injure the opponent's soul or even kill them. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Many of the gang members sucked in a breath of cold air. They had originally thought that the universe virtual network was completely safe, but hearing Lu Hu's words, it seemed like it wasn't. There were still many ways to kill people in the universe virtual network. Leader, this soul-freezing silver needle doesn't seem to be a virtual magical equipment, but a real magical equipment. How did it get in? A gang member asked curiously. He didn't understand. Stupid. Lu Hu sneered. Didn't you guys hear what I said just now? This virtual space is actually a unique illusory universe space. As long as you pay a certain price, even if it's a real magical equipment, you can come in and even take it out. What? Everyone was shocked. They didn't think that there would be such a thing. They originally thought that the magical equipment here were virtual magical equipment and couldn't be taken out at all. But hearing Lu Hu say this, the magical equipment here could actually be taken out of the real world. This was too unbelievable. Everyone in intermediate cities knows about this, so it's not a big secret. However, not many people in intermediate cities know about this because they aren't qualified. I only found out about this matter because I know a few seniors, Shifeng said with a smile. Lu Hu said, of course not all magic treasures can be taken out of the martial Dao space. Only some special and powerful magic treasures have the qualifications to do so. There aren't many of such magic treasures, but each one is extremely precious. In short, there are too many mysteries in the universe virtual network. Even a sage can't exhaust it. This is why countless cultivators in the universe are eager to enter the virtual network. And this time, in order to bring the soul-freezing silver needle in, I paid a huge price. I originally wanted to use it to kill my enemy, but now in order to deal with Wu Wudi, it's not a bad idea to take it out in advance to deter the other party. His eyes flickered. Although the soul-freezing silver needle was very precious and he paid a huge price to bring it into the martial arts space, it was still worth it compared to billions of universe dollars. That's great, leader. With the soul-freezing silver needle in hand, that kid has to give in. That's right. As long as that kid doesn't want to die, he has to obediently hand over his treasures. Haha, we're rich. We're rich this time. To think that this swindler would have such a day. Let's let him have a good taste of what is called power. Any tricks and conspiracies are just a joke in the face of absolute power. Hee, how can a swindler beat a robber? He's dead for sure. Many of the Black Tiger gang members sneered. They seemed to see Wu Wudi being captured by them and then panicking and dying. Let's go and capture Wu Wudi. The leader of the Black Tiger gang, Lu Hu, gave the order. Yes, leader. A group of gang members shouted excitedly. But in addition to the Black Tiger gang, there were also many gangs in Far East City, even in other low-level cities and disciples of large clans who planned to capture Wu Wudi. Because Wu Wudi's wealth was too shocking, worth billions of universe dollars. Ordinary small clans couldn't afford so much money, which was an astronomical figure. If Wu Wudi was an almighty, then naturally no one would dare to have any ideas. But he was just a Purple Mansion realm cultivator and he had so much money. It was like a child holding gold and swaggering through the streets, and anyone would covet it. Chapter 1325. At this moment, Xia Ping led a group of people and left Far East City, heading towards the wilderness. But not long after they left Far East City, they were immediately blocked by a group of fiendish-looking people. This group of people were members of various underground organizations in Far East City. They had received orders from their gang to stop Xia Ping. If they had the chance, they could even capture Xia Ping, knock him out, and take him away. Yu Qiqi, Chu Rong, Su Ji, and Jiang Yaru all clenched their teeth. They already knew that following Xia Ping would not be a good thing, but they were targeted the moment they walked out. The other party's ferocious appearance did not look like they were treating them to a meal. What do you guys want? Don't do anything rash. My status is extremely high, and if you guys dare to make a move, be careful that your boss will kill you. I'm someone you can't afford to offend. Xia Ping stood with his hands behind his back, looking like he had a powerful background. He gave off the aura of a powerful person and loudly berated them. The group of people looked at Xia Ping with disdain. Some even rolled their eyes. They had long heard that this guy was a damn liar, proficient in all sorts of things. Now that they saw it, it was indeed true. Facing their encirclement, this guy was actually not afraid and even boasted that he had a powerful background. If it was a normal person, they might really be scared by this guy. Most importantly, they were called over by their boss to block this kid's path. Offend my ass. You better obediently stay here and wait for my boss to come. If you dare to act rashly, you'll suffer later. You're just a liar, and you still want to brag, saying that you have a powerful background. Aren't you afraid of blowing your own trumpet? Obediently stay here, or else you'll wish you were dead. Do you understand? Don't force me to be rough, you won't be able to stand it. The group of people stared at Xia Ping with murderous intent. They subconsciously surrounded him. Don't move or else I'll go crazy. When I go crazy, even I'm afraid of myself. Xia Ping waved his hand, stopping the group of people from coming over and giving them a warning. He still looked like an otherworldly expert. Show off my ass. I want to see just how awesome you are. I really can't stand looking at you for even a second. I'll beat you up first. A few people couldn't stand it. They had great enmity with Xia Ping. Previously, Xia Ping had cheated him of hundreds of thousands of universe dollars to buy shoes. Now he had made up for this loss. On the other hand, this swindler was doing very well and had become a famous writer, earning billions of universe dollars. Looking at them now, they had even brought along a few concubines to go on an outing. Their lives were so comfortable, how could they stand such a thing? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, 5 or 6 people made their moves. Naturally, they split up and surrounded him. Xia Ping didn't even look at it. He suddenly punched out. Dong. This punch surged with all the mana in his body, causing the air to tremble thousands of times. The force of the punch quickly spread out like a tide, spreading in all directions. The terrifying pressure formed by this punch seemed to have turned the area into a vacuum. Ah! These 5 or 6 people let out a shrill scream. They felt that the fist force of this punch was extremely terrifying. It contained the power of a vortex that penetrated into their lungs. Even if they were wearing defensive artifacts, it was useless. In the next second, their bodies couldn't withstand this force and immediately exploded. They turned into a cloud of blood mist in midair and disappeared from the virtual world just like that. What? The surrounding people were shocked and subconsciously took a few steps back. Expert, this was definitely an incredible expert. He could kill 6 people working together with a single punch. These 6 people weren't weak either. They were at least fulfillment realm cultivators, and one of them was even at the divine ability realm. No matter how they looked at it, Wu Wuti should have been defeated. Who would have thought that it was these 6 people who were killed with a single punch? They couldn't even struggle. How is this possible? Didn't they say that this kid is only at the Purple Mansion realm? This kind of strength is at least at the divine ability realm. Could it be that this kid has made great progress in this year? Even if it is an improvement, it's too exaggerated. Advancing from the Purple Mansion realm to the divine ability realm in a year? Is this a joke? Even a disciple of a saint-class sect can't do such a thing. Nothing is impossible. Who doesn't know that this kid has earned billions of cosmic dollars? Isn't it easy to use this money to buy some precious elixirs and spirit herbs to improve his cultivation? What kind of medicine did he take to improve to such a level? Everyone was envious and jealous. Originally, this guy's cultivation was mediocre and not worth mentioning. He was just like cannon fodder. But now, because he earned so much money and went around taking elixirs, he actually advanced to the divine ability realm in a year. This kind of improvement speed was simply unbelievable. But because of this, their desire for Xia Ping's wealth increased. If they also had this much money, they would have a high chance of advancing to the Thunder Tribulation realm. If they were lucky, they might even have a chance of becoming a saint. But before they could continue dreaming, Xia Ping rushed forward. Once he made his move, it was unstoppable and thunderous. Oh no! This group of people's expressions changed drastically as they felt an unprecedented pressure. Countless fist prints appeared in midair, each containing the ultimate power of the divine ability and extremely destructive power. Dong. 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 Immediately, dozens of people could not withstand it and were directly blown up by the fist, shattering in midair. Even the ground could not withstand such a huge force. Immediately, holes were blasted out, soil splattered everywhere, cracks spread, and stone mountains in the distance collapsed from the force. Oh no, run. This guy is troublesome. Quickly ask for help and call the boss over. The target's strength is extraordinary. We've been tricked this time. This kid is pretending to be weak. Everyone shouted in horror. Now they finally realized why Wu Wuti dared to walk out of Far East City and was not afraid of their revenge. There was no other reason than his strength. The other party was tyrannical and did not fear their powerful strength at all. Naturally, he could do whatever he wanted in a low-grade city. Rumble. Xia Ping attacked like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. In just a few breaths, the group of people who tried to block his way were all wiped out, leaving not a single one alive. Moreover, his breathing was not chaotic and his magic power was not consumed much. It was as if he was doing a warm-up exercise. At this time, there was also a pile of treasures on the ground, which were all dropped after these people died. This was also the horror of the wilderness. Once they died, all the treasures on them would be dropped, leaving nothing behind. Therefore, every time they went out into the wilderness, everyone was very careful. After careful calculation, if these treasures were sold, Xia Ping could get at least 10 million universe credits. Brother Wu is so powerful. A group of little kids looked at Xia Ping in admiration. They felt that with Xia Ping's protection, they could do whatever they wanted here. Let's go. Chapter 1326. Along the way, Xia Ping also encountered a few waves of enemies, but they were all easily eliminated by him, completely shocking the group of people who wanted to cause trouble for him. Damn it, is this kid a monster? How can he be so powerful? What kind of drugs did he take? He's clearly only at the divine realm, how can he be so powerful? Those saints and saintesses of the saint class sects are just SOSO. He dares to call himself Wu Di? Does he really have invincible strength? Bullshit, even saints don't dare to call themselves Wu Di. How can this liar be qualified? Even if he's not invincible, his strength is not something we can provoke. No wonder this kid dares to run amok and dare to leave Far East City. He has some skills. Who cares how many skills he has? 2 fists can't fight 4 hands. When our boss arrives, a bunch of people can surround him. Many people gritted their teeth. During the process of the chase, they suffered heavy losses. Most of the ambushers were killed, and they couldn't log into the virtual network for a few months. Even the treasures on them had been plundered by Xia Ping. They had suffered a double loss. Thinking of this, their hatred for Xia Ping deepened by another level. Even so, with several shocking achievements, those people realized that Xia Ping was troublesome. If they didn't have the strength to provoke Xia Ping, it would be purely courting death. It was a meaningless suicide. Therefore, they quickly retreated and didn't continue to ambush Xia Ping. Along the way, it became incomparably quiet. Not many people dared to cause trouble for Xia Ping. However, there were also many people secretly watching the whereabouts of Xia Ping and the others. They were like tigers eyeing their prey, like poisonous snakes, waiting for the large group to gather and then kill Xia Ping in one fell swoop. Is the person who obtained the fiery forging art in this area? Xia Ping followed the large group and came to a mountain range. There were mountains everywhere, one after another. The vast area was like a huge mountain range that stretched for thousands of miles. According to the information he received along the way, the person who obtained the fiery forging art was surrounded by a large number of people in this mountain range. That person was surrounded to the point where there was no way out. He basically couldn't escape from this encirclement. But even so, this mountain range was vast. Entering it was like a drop of water entering the ocean. Trying to find a person was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Because of this, it had been 20 days since the news of the distant fire forging art appeared, but nobody had been able to track him down. There are so many people. Jianghu sighed. As far as the eye could see, there were people searching everywhere. There were at least hundreds of thousands of them, and who knew how many more people had entered the depths of the mountain range? How are we going to find him in such a big place? Yuchichi felt that Xia Ping did not have much of an advantage. The enemy had formed a large group, and their numbers exceeded 10,000. They had even conducted a carpet search, but they still could not find that person. Just the few people around Xia Ping wanted to find the other party? Wasn't this nonsense? She felt that they would definitely return empty-handed. That's a piece of cake. Xia Ping wasn't worried about this at all. It was naturally extremely difficult for ordinary people to find a person who was proficient in the art of concealment, but he had the system. No matter how deep the enemy hid, he could easily find them. System, help me find the person who obtained the distant fire forging art. Xia Ping immediately asked. The system replied, easy, you need to spend 5 million hatred points. Exchange. Xia Ping did not hesitate. As long as he could find the person who obtained the distant fire forging art, he could obtain the Saint Grade forging art. A mere 5 million hatred points was nothing. Boom, in the next second, a stream of information immediately poured into Xia Ping's mind. Is this the place? It doesn't seem to be very far from me, and the other party seems to be very bold. Xia Ping raised his eyebrows. A young man with a protruding mouth and monkey cheeks appeared in his mind. What surprised him was that the other party actually dared to openly search the crowd, and did not hide in the depths of the mountains at all. But it was precisely because of his bold behavior that no one suspected that he was the person who obtained the distant fire-forging art, making him extremely safe. If he didn't meet me, he might have really slipped away. If he met me, then he's out of luck. Xia Ping touched his chin. He already knew where the other party was. Thinking of this, he said to Jianghu and the others, "You guys wait for me in a secret place nearby. I'll go and catch that kid right now. It'll be quick." What? Jianghu, Yuchichi, Suji and Chu Rong were all dumbfounded. What did he mean by wait for him in a secret place? He'll be able to catch the person who obtained the distant fire-forging art very soon. What a joke. If it was that easy to catch the other party, there wouldn't be so many people coming out in full force to carry out a carpet search. Now that this guy said such words, it was as easy as catching the kid to eat and drink. But before they could say anything, Xia Ping had already left in a flash. At this moment, in another place, a large group of people were searching for traces of the distant fire-forging art. They were all rogue cultivators from all over the world. After hearing the news, they gathered together in twos and threes. They hoped to try their luck. If they could obtain the distant fire-forging art, then they would be rich. Damn it, where is that guy hiding? Why can't I find him anywhere? He's really good at hiding. It's already been 20 days, but not even a shadow has been seen. Someone gnashed his teeth. Don't tell me that guy has already left this mountain range and returned to the safe zone? Someone suspected that the other party had already returned to the safe zone and was just doing useless things. It's impossible. Someone shook his head. All the major powers have already sealed off the cities. Everyone who enters and exits the safe zone is guarded. If that kid dares to return to the safe zone, he'll definitely be discovered. He definitely won't be able to escape. This is really taking drastic measures. They've already guarded the entrance to the safe zone. Where else can that kid escape to? It's simply impossible for him to escape. Many people sighed. This was the terror of the major powers. With a single order, they could mobilize resources that ordinary people couldn't imagine. But this kind of thing can't last long. If they don't find anything for a long time, those major powers won't continue to waste time sealing off the safe zone. After all, it costs too much manpower and resources. Even the major powers can't afford it. Someone said in a deep voice, "Once this limit is exceeded, I'm guessing many powers will give up." After all, for the major powers, the Saint-grade forging art is certainly precious, but there's no reason for them to continue wasting time. The benefits aren't proportional to the effort. So, we must find that kid as soon as possible and end the battle quickly. Otherwise he'll really escape. He wore a serious expression. Of course. The group of people nodded their heads. A bunch of fools. You think you can catch me? What a joke. Among the crowd, an inconspicuous young man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks sneered and looked at the group disdainfully. Chapter 1327. Ho-san used to be an ordinary rogue cultivator. However, his fate changed 20 days ago. While he was fighting a monster, the monster suddenly dropped a Saint-tier skill book, the distant fire-forging technique. As expected, the fragile rogue cultivator team immediately broke out in internal strife and killed each other. In the end, Ho-san won and the others died. However, he did not expect his partners to be so crazy that they would not let him get anything even if they could not get it themselves. Therefore the news spread quickly. The news spread so fast that he was surrounded by a group of people in the mountain before he returned to the safe zone, and he could not return to the safe zone. Fortunately, he was proficient in disguise and was good at changing his appearance. He used his presence as a passerby to sneak into a rogue cultivator team who was searching for the distant fire-forging technique. Obviously, Ho-san's plan was very successful. He sneaked into the search team without being noticed, and the others did not know that he was among them. On the other hand, the group of people looked for remote places such as caves and valleys, so naturally they returned empty-handed. Soon we'll be able to leave soon. Ho-san suppressed his excitement. After spending 20 days together, he had become familiar with the members of the team. He even hinted for the team to slowly come to the periphery of the mountain. As long as he found an excuse to sneak out of the team later, he would be able to escape without being noticed and escape from the encirclement. He believed that nobody would suspect an ordinary person like him. Just you wait, Shally. When I completely master the distant fire-forging technique, you'll regret rejecting my pursuit. At that moment, Hosan thought about the goddess who rejected his pursuit, and he immediately gritted his teeth. He recalled the contemptuous look in the goddess's eyes when she rejected him, as if she was saying that he was a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Of course, he was indeed mediocre in the past, and he could even be considered a good-for-nothing because almost everyone could bully him. However, things would be different from now on. After obtaining the distant fire forging technique, he would definitely become an incredible blacksmith master in the future. He might even become a guest of many large sects and be respected by people. Humph, if you ignore me today, I'll make you unworthy of me tomorrow. Hosan almost drooled at the thought of this. He imagined himself successfully cultivating the distant fire smithing art, becoming a respected smithing master, and reaching the pinnacle of his life. When the goddess Shaoli found out about this, she was filled with regret. She cried and shouted that she wanted to marry him. She even said that she had liked him for a long time. What she said before was just to test his sincerity. Now she had passed the test. As for such a shameless bitch, he naturally kicked her away. How could a man like him, who stood at the pinnacle of his life, care about such a woman? He still had a good life ahead of him. Forget it. After thinking about it carefully, he decided not to kick her for now. He would agree to her request for the time being. When he was tired of playing with this bitch, he would kick her away and let her taste the pain of being abandoned. Hosan almost laughed out loud when he thought of this. Hosan, what are you thinking? I'm talking to you, can't you hear me? Is there something wrong with your ears? With a slap, a big man next to him slapped Hosan's shoulder. The pain immediately woke him up from his fantasy. Damn it, this dog doesn't know what respect is. Hosan was so angry that his face turned red. He felt pain all over his body from the slap and his bones almost cracked. He knew that this guy was the leader of this team and he used his strength to slap people everywhere. Previously, as a member of the team, he was ordered around and slapped everywhere like a ball. If he could, Hosan simply wanted to slap the big man. He even wanted to scold him on the spot. Did this bastard know how great a figure he was? Hosan secretly made up his mind that the first thing he would do when he became a forging master in the future was to get rid of this big man. However, now was the time to act cowardly. He immediately smiled obsequiously and said, "Boss, I'm sorry, I suddenly need to go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom nearby?" What? Go to the bathroom? Why didn't you go when you were resting just now? Lazy people really need to pee too much. Forget it, go ahead. Come back quickly. We'll set off later. The big man scolded. He was very dissatisfied with Hosan's request. He felt that this guy did not respect him, the temporary leader, very much. Fuck, I'm going to run later. Hosan wanted to spit on him immediately, but when he thought that he was going to escape soon, he could not be bothered to argue with this stupid guy. Sure enough, because he looked too ordinary, the others did not know that Hosan had secretly left. Some of them did not even know that Hosan once existed. Whoosh. A few minutes later, Hosan immediately left the team. Like a runaway horse, he quickly fled out of the mountain range. He did not stop along the way. Soon he ran to the edge of the mountain range. He could even see the grassland in the distance. It was lush, full of vitality, thriving, and full of a fresh aura. Hosan felt that he was getting closer and closer to freedom. He was so happy that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. This was what it meant to be a bird flying in the sky and a fish swimming in the sea. The feeling of freedom was really great. "Brother, please wait a moment." Suddenly, a voice sounded behind him. Who was it? Hosan's hair stood on end. He was originally in a state of being chased and he was tense. He was constantly paying attention to the wind and grass around him, afraid that he would be caught. However, what exactly was going on? Why could someone get close to him without making a sound? He could not sense the person's aura at all, and was it friend or foe? His neck was stiff and he turned his head like a robot to see who stopped him. However, as soon as Hosan turned his head, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets because a red brick was fiercely smashing toward his head. It whistled and whistled through the air. Dong. Before he knew what was going on, the brick hit his head hard. Then, his consciousness went dark as if he had fallen into an endless abyss. He did not even have the time to scream. He fainted and fell to the ground. The person who did it was none other than Xia Ping. He had tracked Hosan all the way and finally found him. Without hesitation, he struck the fella and knocked him out with the brick. Smack smack. Xia Ping patted the dust on his hands and searched Hosan's body for a while. He immediately found a jade slip. Found it? Is this the inheritance of the distant fire smithing art? Chapter 1328. After an unknown amount of time, Ho-san slowly woke up. It hurts. As soon as he woke up, he immediately felt an intense pain on his forehead. It felt as if someone had smashed his head open. There was a huge bump on his forehead and blood was still flowing out. What's going on? What exactly happened? Ho-san's consciousness was still a little blurry. He could only vaguely remember that before he passed out, he seemed to have seen a brick smashing fiercely on his forehead. Wait, a brick? He woke up with a start and instinctively touched his trouser pocket. His heart instantly turned cold. Ignis forging art, where's my Ignis forging art? Did it get snatched by that bastard who smashed my brick? Ho-san screamed. His face turned green as if a toad had been stuffed into his mouth. After all, the Ignis forging art was his capital to make a comeback. It was what he relied on to reach the pinnacle of his life, but now it was gone. He had lost everything. It was like drawing water with a sieve. Wait, what's this? Ho-san quickly noticed that there was a rock beside him, and there were some words written on it. Ignis forging art. This item is fated with me, so I'm here to take it. Please forgive me. It was signed Wu Wuti. Fuck your forgiveness. Ho-san was mad as he gritted his teeth. What did he mean by this item was fated with him? Could he snatch it away just because it was fated? According to this logic, all the treasures in the universe were fated with him. Did that mean he could snatch them away? It was the first time he had seen such a shameless person. It was clearly a robbery, but he made it sound so fresh and refined. That guy was simply too thick-skinned. God damn it, my mask, my dagger, and the talismans that I spent a lot of money on. Why are they all gone? Why are they all gone? Ho-san screamed. However, he soon realized that not only did he lose the Ignis forging art, but a few of his treasures, including his mask and other treasures, had also disappeared. He was now clean. Apart from his clothes, he had nothing else on him. Even some of his dry food had been taken away. It could be said that his wealth was even cleaner than his face. He was back to square one in a day. Wu Wuti, you and I are absolutely irreconcilable. You even took my dry food. Do you still have any humanity? Was he shameless? Why didn't you just leave me a pair of underpants? Ho-san was furious. His heart was filled with hatred. He looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. He wanted nothing more than to cut Wu Wuti into pieces. This little thief had no conscience at all. He felt that encountering that bastard was simply like being baptized by locusts. Even the Taotai clan wasn't as greedy as him and didn't leave a single cent for him. Moreover, what made him even more furious was that this brat was boundlessly arrogant and looked down on others too much. He had clearly snatched away his things, yet he actually dared to leave his name behind. Just how much did he look down on him? Did he think that even if he left his name, he would not be able to take revenge on this bastard? Ho-san gritted his teeth. The hatred in his heart was indescribable, but if he met that bastard Wu Wuti, he would definitely fight him to the death. At this time, Xiaoping sprinted all the way and arrived at a valley. This was the place where he, Jianghu, and the others had agreed to meet. But as soon as he entered the valley, he felt a somber atmosphere. At this moment, Jianghu, the others, and a group of children were actually surrounded by a large number of fiendish villains. They were all wielding spears, broadswords, axes, and other weapons. Many of them had scars on their faces or were bald. One look and anyone could tell that these people were vicious and not good people. They were definitely the kind that killed people like flies. Because a large number of people had come to this mountain range to search for the distant fire forging technique, such a large number of people also came over to watch. They were curious about what was going on. The Black Tiger Gang is here on business. Unrelated people should leave immediately or else we will kill without mercy. A bald man shouted angrily. His murderous aura was extremely domineering as he stared at the group of people around him. The Black Tiger Gang? The surrounding people were all shocked. Of course they had heard of the Black Tiger Gang. It was a famous underground organization in Far East City. It was a leading organization with many subordinates. Even in the real world, this organization was a local tyrant that ruled over an entire planet. Although it was nothing to the real big shots, it was definitely a great power that could not be provoked by the lower class, not to mention the fact that the other party was an underworld figure that would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. If they provoked the other party, they were afraid that they would be in big trouble. Many people immediately retreated. They definitely could not get involved in this mess. However, there were also people who were very unhappy. After all, they dared to come here to search for the distant fire forging technique. They were people who were very confident in their own strength. There were many arrogant people who could not stand such arrogant words. Wait, isn't that the leader of the Black Tiger Gang, Lu Hu? He's actually here too. Someone shouted. He recognized a 2-meter-tall bald man in the crowd. The man's body emitted the aura of a ferocious tiger. He stood out from the crowd and was unforgettable. Anyone who saw this man would know that he was not someone to be trifled with. They had heard that Lu Hu was an expert at the peak of the transcendent realm. He was only a step away from the artifact refining realm. This kind of strength was definitely second to none in a low-level city. Seeing this situation, many people stopped talking. Since Lu Hu had appeared here, it meant that the Black Tiger Gang had sent out all their elites. There was no need for them to offend such a great power. Dong. Lu Hu stood in front and stared at Jianghu and the others. He asked in a muffled voice, "Where's Wu Wudi? Where is he? Why isn't he with you?" He was very confused. According to the report from his subordinates, Wu Wudi had been with this group of people. He hurried over only to find that Wu Wudi had disappeared. He immediately felt very annoyed. If Wu Wudi disappeared and returned to Far East City, he was afraid that he would not find such a good opportunity next time. He would never allow such a thing to happen. Because he had mobilized so many people and paid a huge price to take out the Frost Soul Silver Needles. How could he accept this kind of thing? It's none of your business. Jiang Yaru and the others coldly snorted. They did not plan to say anything. That's right. Big Baldy, don't think that you can scare people just because you're tall. Yes, I can beat 10 of you. You'd better leave immediately. Otherwise we'll be angry. When we're angry, even we're afraid of ourselves. A group of young boys and Lolas shouted and grinded their little canine teeth, looking very ferocious. Suddenly, many of the Black Tiger Gang members roared with laughter. They were just a group of children, but they dared to threaten them, the members of the Black Tiger Gang who killed people like flies. Sure enough, the ignorant were fearless. Chapter 1329. You don't want to say it? Lu Hu sneered. You're quite loyal to that brat, but I hope you can still say those words later. After I capture you, I'll let you have a taste of what it means to wish you were dead. Killing intent surged from his body. For an underworld tyrant like him, it didn't matter if it was a woman, a child, or even his family. As long as they stood in his way, they would be killed without exception. This is the virtual network. Do you think you can threaten me with such words? As long as I want to, I can kill myself and leave at any time. Yuchichi said disdainfully. She felt that these people were threatening the wrong person. If this was the real world, they might be a little afraid. But this was the virtual world and no one would die. What was there to be afraid of? Kill yourself and leave? Do you think you have such a chance? It's impossible to kill you, but capturing you alive is easy. Lu Hu laughed cruelly. Once I catch you, I'll torture you until you wish you were dead. The feeling in the virtual network is the same in the real world. You'll feel the same pain. And you're women. This time, my brothers will let you experience the joy of being a woman. I hope you can bear it. His eyes were very fierce. Although the Frost Silver Needle could kill people in the virtual network, it could only kill one person. He wouldn't waste such a precious treasure. This was a trump card that would only be used at a critical moment. Although these women look ordinary, they'll be the same after the lights are turned off. I heard that they're all Wu Wudi's women. Wouldn't he be cuckolded if he fucked them? How satisfying. Wu Wudi lied to countless people, but he still ended up like this. This is retribution. Thank you, boss, for giving us the chance to reward us. Girls, I'll let you have a good time later. I guarantee it'll be a memorable experience. Many members of the Black Tiger Gang snickered as they sized up Jiang Yaru and the others. That was because Jiang Yaru and the others were no longer in their original appearances. They had become incomparably ordinary without any breathtaking beauty. But to these ruthless gangsters, as long as they were women, they didn't care about their looks. These bastards. Jiang Yaru and the others' gazes turned cold, but they didn't feel the slightest bit of fear in their hearts. At most, they would just commit suicide and leave the virtual network. However, they still wanted to teach these rude people a lesson. Yijia and the others were also very angry. They felt that these people were all bad people. Go capture them. Lu Hu didn't even look at them. He gave the order to capture these little fellows. There was no need for him to do anything. If the boss was required to do everything, then what was the point of having subordinates? Yes, boss. Immediately, 20 to 30 people flew out from the crowd. They were all at least in the fulfillment realm, and there were 5 or 6 who were in the early stage of the divinity realm. Their attitude was very relaxed, as if they were on a field trip. They didn't put Jiang Yaru and the others in their eyes at all. Little girl, come over here obediently. A group of Black Tiger Gang members spread out like wolves and tigers, wanting to capture Jianghu and the others in an instant. Their palms contained tyrannical magical power. This was a unique chi sealing capture technique. If an enemy was caught, they would immediately be able to seal their meridians. They wouldn't be able to use their magical power at all. They would be like little chicks, unable to resist at all. But when they were 10 meters away from Jianghu and the others, a terrifying gravity suddenly appeared in the air, crushing down on them like mountains. Dong. In the next second they were like birds without wings. They fell from the sky and were pressed to the ground, unable to move. Even the air around them was distorted. A shocking human-shaped hole appeared on the ground. The Black Tiger Gang members' faces were twisted. They wanted to struggle with all their might, but they couldn't do anything. What? Such a turn of events had also stunned the surrounding people, especially Lu Hu and the other Black Tiger Gang members. They were also dumbfounded, not knowing what was going on. Big Brother Wu, Yijia and the others shouted excitedly. They noticed a figure descending from the sky, landing in front of them in an instant. Jiang Yaru and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. Finally the bad guy had returned. With Xia Ping here, they believed that these criminals wouldn't dare to act rashly. Wu Wudi. Lu Hu's pupils shrank. He stared at the young man who suddenly appeared. He was instantly shocked. Even with his peak transcendent cultivation, he couldn't sense Xia Ping's aura. This was a little unusual. He felt that his target this time was a little troublesome. He wouldn't be easy to deal with. You want to deal with my woman? You've got some guts. Go to hell. Xia Ping looked at the Black Tiger Gang members indifferently. He lightly raised his hand and pressed down in the air. He didn't want to waste time talking to them. Stop. Seeing this, Lu Hu felt a great pressure. His expression changed. He knew that this move of Xia Ping's was extraordinary. If he didn't stop it, his subordinates would probably be finished. But he couldn't stop it because Xia Ping was too fast. In the air, a terrifying magical power pressed down. It was as if the sky was collapsing. Endless pressure came crashing down, creating an extremely terrifying pressure. In just an instant, the Black Tiger Gang members on the ground, whether they were in the fulfillment realm or the transcendent realm, were treated equally. They were like ants under this power. Boom. In an instant, their bodies were crushed into meat paste and turned into powder. A huge palm print appeared on the ground. It was 2 to 3 kilometers in diameter, and even the ground had collapsed by a meter. Too strong. This strength is at least at the peak of the transcendent realm. He killed dozens of people with one move, and some of them were even in the transcendent realm. Is this guy a monster? Didn't they say that Wu Wudi was just a liar? He didn't have much martial strength and was a fake? What's going on now? If he's still a fake, then what are we? Trash? The Black Tiger Gang has kicked an iron plate this time. The surrounding people trembled and looked at Xia Ping in fear. People could lie, items could be fake, and even MO could be fake. But martial strength could not be faked. There was no doubt that his strength was strong. It wasn't just a bluff. You must be joking. How can a liar be so strong? The Black Tiger Gang members were also stunned. Previously, they had maintained a relatively relaxed attitude. They thought that if they met Wu Wudi, they could easily take him down with their strength. But now they saw that he was not a sheep. He was a tiger. He killed dozens of them as soon as he appeared. Chapter 1330. You. Lu Hu stared at Xia Ping. His expression was uncertain. He was in a dilemma and didn't know what to do. Is this all you've got to deal with me? Xia Ping clasped his hands behind his back and looked at the Black Tiger Gang members. Looks like I need to teach you how to respect the strong. You can't mess with just anyone. Kneel. He extended his hand and pressed down. Star attractor, infinite gravity. Rumbling sounds could be heard as one star after another appeared behind him. There were a total of 108 stars, all of which rumbled as they rotated. Primal chaos energy swirled around them. At this moment, the entire sky seemed to have darkened. Stars revolved around each other, shining resplendently. Strands of starlight interweaved, forming a river of stars. The starlight swirled around him, forming a massive star array diagram. Impossible. Is he about to step into the treasure-refining realm? Lu Hu's pupils constricted as he stared at the scene in disbelief. This was obviously a phenomenon created by using the heaven and earth energy. However, low-level cities only allowed people to use the strength of the divinity realm. Even so, such a phenomenon was still created. In other words, even though this kid was only in the divinity realm, he could use the strength of the treasure-refining realm. But this scene was a joke. It was too ridiculous. How could something so stupid happen? He had never seen anyone in the divinity realm this strong. Rumble, however, it didn't matter what he was thinking. Suddenly, the spell formation appeared, and a terrifying gravitational force crushed down, covering the entire valley and crushing down onto the bodies of the Black Tiger Gang members. Immediately, more than 2,000 members of the Black Tiger Gang let out blood-curdling screams. With a bang, they couldn't bear the gravity and were pressed to the ground, their feet sinking deep into the soil. Their faces were ferocious as they crazily used their chi to counteract the gravity. But even if they pushed their chi to the limit, they couldn't do anything. But other than the Black Tiger Gang members, Jianghu's group, Yi Jiejia's group, and the surrounding crowd were not affected at all. They couldn't feel the existence of gravity at all. Hyperfocus. This kind of control technique is already hyperfocus. How can something so ridiculous happen? The surrounding people were all extremely shocked. They naturally knew how terrifying a person who could do such a thing was. Just the person who could display such tyrannical power was already very frightening. But now, under such a powerful force, he was still able to control it as if he was controlling his own fingers. This was not something an ordinary person could do. Those who could do this were all monstrous geniuses of their sects, rarely seen even in 1,000 years. Lu Hu could no longer sit still. If they allowed Wu Wudi to continue being so arrogant, they would all be wiped out. They had to destroy this brat's divine ability. Martial Path Divine Ability, 9 Tigers Overlord Blade. In the blink of an eye, he pulled out a golden saber and slashed at Xia Ping. The power of this blade was extremely terrifying. 9 ferocious tigers appeared in the void in an instant, condensing into substance. They shone with golden light and emitted a domineering aura. It was as if any enemy would be devoured by this saber, unable to withstand it. This was Lu Hu's peerless skill, and it was also the reason why he could become the leader of the Black Tiger Gang. With this martial path divine ability, he could kill everyone with a blade in hand. He had once slashed from the south to the north of the city, invincible. Ordinary divine realm cultivators would die in one slash in front of him. So strong. The surrounding people could not help but take a few kilometers back because the domineering aura emitted from Lu Hu was very domineering and extremely exclusive. Even if they were just spectators, if they did not dodge quickly, they would be injured by the overflowing force. In the blink of an eye, Lu Hu's huge blade arrived. The blade was sharp, as if it was going to break Xia Ping's infinite gravity field with one slash and completely split it in half. Too slow. Xia Ping looked at Lu Hu indifferently. In front of his golden crow hell eye, Lu Hu's blade was as slow as a tortoise, and the trajectory of every slash was clear. Boom. He stretched out his hand and the power of the void condensed. The power of yin and yang fused into a huge hand, instantly grabbing towards Lu Hu as if ignoring the distance between them. What is this? Lu Hu's body trembled. He felt a giant hand suddenly crushing over, shattering his blade chi in an instant. He was unable to block it. Then the giant hand grabbed his body. He was suddenly extremely shocked. He could not even use the Eye Soul silver needles on his body. His whole body was surrounded by the yin and yang chi, as if his body's power was sealed and he could not break free. In the next second, his body was grabbed like a little chick and he was ruthlessly thrown out. Dong. Lu Hu let out a shrill scream. His whole body was smashed into the ground, immediately creating a hole with a diameter of 2 to 3 kilometers. It was more than a dozen kilometers deep, as if it was about to break through the earth. Immediately, a crack that was several kilometers long appeared in the surroundings, and there were dense lines everywhere. The scene was shocking. Lu Hu was also thrown deep into the ground like a dead dog, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Blood almost covered his body and he became a bloody man. If not for his last breath, he might have disappeared from the virtual network. But Lu Hu still held on. He must not die, otherwise his secret treasure, the Eye Soul silver needles, would be lost in this place. He could not accept this loss. No way, with just one move the boss was beaten like a dog? Many of the Black Tiger Gang members were shocked. In their eyes, Lu Hu was an invincible transcendent realm cultivator, and there were not many in the lower city who could defeat him. But now Lu Hu lost so miserably they could not imagine it at all. Bad guys, go to hell. Let me punish you with the iron fist of justice. Eat my fist. Seeing this, Yi Jiejia and the other brats shouted and rushed up. They were like little monsters, their bodies like cannonballs, attacking the Black Tiger Gang members. A group of brats also wants to die, I will fulfill your wish. Many of the Black Tiger Gang members were furious. They were gangsters who could stop a 3-year-old from crying, who knew how cruel they were. Although they were a bit down now, they would not be bullied by a group of brats. They were also fulfillment realm cultivators, and even transcendent realm cultivators. They could not be killed by a group of brats. Want to fight? Obediently lie down and wait for your death. Xia Ping pressed down in the air, the gravity quickly increased by more than 10 times, and a huge amount of magic power surged out. Suddenly, the group of Black Tiger Gang members were like crabs, pressed down by a giant rock. Even transcendent realm cultivators would find it difficult to move under such gravity. Chapter 1331. Yi Jiejia and the other brats made their moves. They were all from influential clans and had tempered their physiques to an unimaginable level. They might just be kids, but they were as strong as little monsters. Even though they were only at the Purple Mansion realm, regular early-stage fulfillment realm cultivators might not be a match for them. They were prodigies that could challenge those who were stronger than them. Moreover, under the pressure of Xia Ping's gravity, these Black Tiger Gang members couldn't move. They were just like targets, allowing the kids to beat them up. Scoundrel, disappear for me. Yi Jiejia was the first to rush out. She was wearing a white princess dress. She was a 5 or 6 years old Lolita, but her body was filled with monstrous strength. It was as though there was a real dragon residing in her body. She was extremely violent. Extraordinary strength fist. Her white and tender little fist smashed towards the group of Black Tiger Gang members. The strength of her fist instantly reached dozens of tons. With a boom, a crater that was hundreds of meters deep immediately appeared on the ground. The earth shook and cracked. A small mountain in the distance seemed to have been shaken to the point that it was on the verge of collapsing. Immediately, dozens of members of the Black Tiger Gang were blasted into smithereens and torn to pieces. Even if they were Fulfillment Realm or Divine Ability Realm cultivators, they didn't have special physiques like the Azura body or the Golden Crow body. Their body's defense was only slightly stronger than a Purple Mansion realm. They couldn't resist such a monstrous strength and were shattered in a single fist. My mother. The group of people was flabbergasted. They had never seen such a ferocious Lolita. She was only 5 or 6 years old, but she had already reached the Purple Mansion realm and possessed monstrous strength that far surpassed ordinary people. Even a normal human with godly strength? No, even a savage beast would only be at this level. But this was just the beginning. A little fatty made his move. He took a deep breath, and an endless amount of spirit energy surged in. He swallowed it like a whale, and his body immediately enlarged into a meatball with a diameter of 10 meters. His body was extremely hard, and there seemed to be densely packed special black runic patterns on his body. His flesh density increased by a few thousand times and was twice as hard as a diamond. His weight also increased by a few thousand times. When he stood on the ground would collapse and sink. But contrary to his weight, his speed was extremely fast and nimble. With a leap of his feet, it was as if his feet were springs. In an instant he leaped high into the sky, surpassing the height of a mountain in the distance. He then fell from mid-air like a falling meteor. Bang! In the next second he smashed down and instantly killed dozens of Black Tiger Gang members. A shocking crater also appeared on the ground. Just like that, little fatty jumped and smashed and countless members of the Black Tiger Gang were killed. I'll burn, I'll burn. A little boy in a black suit with a pair of big round eyes, looked very cute, and 2 demon horns grew on his forehead. However, he was also an extremely violent person. He opened his mouth wide and instantly spewed out a large amount of flames from his stomach. In an instant, the flames covered a radius of several hundred meters, as if a small fire had broken out. My God, this is the Samadhi true fire, an unusual fire of heaven and earth. How can this kid control it? The group of people was frightened. This was not an ordinary flame, but the famous Samadhi true fire. Once such a flame appeared, it was almost impossible to extinguish. Only the legendary 10,000-year mysterious ice could destroy it. The problem was, how could they have such a treasure? They had never seen it before. Crash, in a few breaths, the fire spread, covering the sky and covering the earth. Dozens of Black Tiger Gang members were burned to ashes, turning into ashes. Apart from them, the other brats also showed their magical powers. They were ferocious as they chased after the Black Tiger Gang members. After half an hour, more than 2,000 members of the Black Tiger Gang were annihilated. Not a single one was left. Are these kids monsters? My God, these are the kids born in the universe. So scary. They're simply little monsters. Jianghu, Churong, Suji and Yuchichi were also shocked. Although they had also taken action to eliminate the Black Tiger Gang members, they weren't as strong and tyrannical as this group of children. They also realized the gap between the cloud world and the universe. Even if they were martial artists of the same level, the resources and martial arts they grasped were different. Their battle strength was also very different. It was almost an overwhelming gap. It was impossible to catch up. They also made up their minds that after joining the Heaven and Earth sect, they must learn profound martial arts. The Black Tiger Gang was annihilated? Lu Hu kicked an iron plate. Fortunately, this is the virtual network. Otherwise they would all die. Even so, their souls would be seriously injured and they wouldn't be able to log into the virtual network for several months. The surrounding people were shocked. Although the fighting strength of these kids was amazing, if Xiaoping didn't suppress the gang members, they wouldn't be able to win so easily. It could be said that Xiaoping alone suppressed the Black Tiger Gang members. He had the strength of 1,000 men. It's over. This time it's over. Lu Hu lay in the deep pit, gasping for breath. His face was pale. He naturally felt that his subordinates were annihilated one by one. Now he was all alone. If he could, he simply wanted to commit suicide and leave the virtual network. But now he couldn't because he still had a treasure like the soul-freezing silver needle. He couldn't bear to leave like this. He could only stubbornly hold on, lest his injuries were too severe and he was kicked out of the virtual network. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. If he knew this monster was so powerful, he wouldn't have come looking for trouble even if he was beaten to death. Now, not only did he not get anything but he also suffered heavy casualties. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, a strong aura came from afar. Figures also flew in from the sky. They were extremely fast and quickly landed outside the valley. Wu Wudi. Is Wu Wudi here? Come out immediately. Many people shouted. What? Jianghu and the others were shocked. There were too many of them. They were 10 times, 20 times more than the Black Tiger Gang. There were tens of thousands of people. And there were even more auras flying in from afar. It seemed that this was only the beginning. My God, how many people did this bad guy offend? Why did so many people come looking for trouble? Jianghu and the others were speechless. Following this bad guy, there really was no peace. God is good to me. This kid's enemies are finally here. Lu Hu was grateful. He felt as if he had escaped from death. I am Wu Wudi. Why are you looking for me? Do you want to treat me to a meal? Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back and glanced sideways. Eat my ass. I heard that you've obtained the distant fire forging technique. Is this true? A man with triangular eyes walked out and stared at Xiaoping greedily. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.